your host for Tooney Talk Wrestling, Marvin Movie Monster.
Oh, hello. It is good to be back. 52 of us going here. Welcome to Tooney Talk Wrestling. My name is Marvin the Movie Monster. I'm your host of the show. And joining me today, we got an all-star panel who are defying what everyone complained about last week, that it was just a bunch of avatars. First, let me introduce from the world of indie wrestling, going by the name of the Iron Shogun today. One of my favorite people in the world, ladies and gentlemen, fresh off of his very successful ACW mall show, at the American Dream Mall in New Jersey in front of 8,000 people, ladies and gentlemen. The one and 10? It was 10?
10,000.
The one and only, ladies and gentlemen, the American Way, Kevin Apollo. How are you, my friend?
Listen, I'm great. Glad to be here. I'm very excited for us all to be able to get together. Sorry I missed last week. I did need a little recovery time because
right.
putting that show together was that was rough. That was a lot of working parts. But we absolutely loved it. And again, I'm still reveling off of people comparing it to the first episode of Nitro.
You know, it looked like the first episode of Nitro. I wish I had thought enough to like grab a screenshot of it to share, because it really does kind of look like that first episode of Nitro. I'm already killing my camera because my arm is already killing me. I will try to pop on here and there to avoid the avataritis. But Kev, very excited to have you on the show once again. Back by popular demand is our good friend, the man who had the big inside scoop last week, Evil Dose, my friend.
What's up, everyone? Good to see everyone. I'm representing the Brahmas today. I'm all in on the San Antonio Brahmas.
Oh, well, look at you go. And a special guest today, folks, you know him from the world of wrestling soup. Ladies and gentlemen, our good friend, Anthony Missionary Mish Thomas. Hello, Mish.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hope you guys are having a good one.
Very good
WrestleMania
one.
week. The buzz is absolutely real. The hype train is real. It's fun to be here, guys.
Absolutely. We're thrilled that you're here. Mish, for people that don't, for anyone out there that might not know you, explain a bit about your show, how it started, how long it's been around. I know it's been around forever.
Wrestling Soup came off the back of the Don, Tony, Kevin Castle show from 2005 and 2010. Myself and Joe and a guy named Andrew Carlick got together and created Wrestling Soup. And we've been around since 2010, won various awards, did C2E2, bunch of other places. It's kind of a off-the-cuff, blue-collared show talking about wrestling and the other things. So.
Oh no, you guys had me in stitches last week. I was listening to your thing about Drew McIntyre, finally figuring out how to get over and then leaving. I was busted. Like, my stitches were busted. It was great. And of course, folks, our good friend here is AEW Disciplinary Committee. Welcome back, my friend. You're looking more animated than ever this week.
Now people know what I look like.
Yes,
all I hear all the time is what do you look like? What do you look like?
That's what he looks like. That's what he's always looked like. And also, folks, popping in and out tonight, our friend producer Neckbeard, AEW Neckbeards, is he's going to be moderating the chat with you guys, but he's also going to be popping in here and there. Hello, Neckbeard.
Hey, I'm going to rule that chat with an iron fist.
Yeah, just don't kick out Dose's wife again this week, if you would. Like, Evil Dose's wife popped on, and she said something, and Neckbeard thought she was a troll.
Oh man.
Adios, mamacita. Like, bounced her right out.
Such a typical
I thought she was the bot.
That's what a neckbeard would think. Can't be a real woman.
She was nudes in bio. That's what. Next time, Dose, just tell her not to say nudes in bio when she pops up.
What are you talking about? That's how we get our super chats.
That's right.
How do you think I pay for this setup?
Not able to make it tonight, but is sending some super chat love. A good friend, Awful Wrestling, who sent us $5. Thank you, Awful. We love you. We can't wait to have you back here on the show. We got more super chats coming in. Cody Duffy says, Mish is the man. So there you go, Mish. You are the man, apparently, according to Cody Duffy.
Appreciate that, Cody.
And let's see, Shaggy Filth sent $10 without a message in it, but we appreciate it. Thank you so much for the support, guys. So I was keeping a running list of the things we had to talk about this week, and that list kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm like, oh, this is gonna be great. It's gonna be a WrestleMania preview show. We're gonna give like our thoughts about the card. We're gonna give predictions, and then things just kind of kept happening. and happening. So God, every day I was like facepalming. I'm like, God, this is going to be a lot of work for me. But I do want to start with WrestleMania. We can start there and we can work our way through. If you guys have things you want to hear about specifically, you can super chat us, and we'll be going through the super chats here and there, and answering your questions, touching on the topics you guys want to hear us talk about. But first, I wanted to go through this card and kind of get opinions on both nights of WrestleMania and the Hall of Fame. We'll start with the Hall of Fame. So a lot of people have been criticizing this Hall of Fame class this year, saying it's one of the weaker classes in recent memories. I'm pretty sure that WWE really regrets those first couple of years when they would have like Hogan and Piper like in the same year, and like Bobby the Brain Heenan and all that. Like they kind of like blew their load like out really fast, and now you've kind of got. I'm not gonna say like lesser names, but I mean like this Hall of Fame. I mean, let's take a look at it. So we got Paul Heyman, Bull Nakano, Thunderbolt Patterson, Liam Maivia. And then we got the U.S. Express, Mike Rotunda and Barry Windham, and Muhammad Ali. Kev, what do you think about this Hall of Fame class? Like, obviously Heyman being the headliner here.
Yeah, well, I think part of why everybody kind of feels it's a little lackluster is we're in Philly. We definitely should have seen, at least someone on the ECW Mount Rushmore going. I got it. You've got the Dudleys and RVD. They are, without a doubt, the biggest names to come out of ECW. But it would have been nice to see Dreamer go in. Would have been nice to see Sandman go in. Even Sabu. It's lacking. And the other part of it is, I'm pretty sure everybody and their mother thought this was the year Lex Luger was going into.
Yes, I definitely thought Lex Luger was going to finally go in.
Or even Bam Bam Bigelow. Like, it's a decent class, especially, we're coming off the heels of Young Rock, so we know all about his grandmother.
Uh-huh.
I understand why the USA Express is going in. You don't want to put Bray in because you don't want to make the Hall of Fame a death conciliation prize.
Yes. Yeah. You want to let his legacy breathe a little bit before you put him in.
Yeah. So we, in a very nice way, we put a Wyndham and Rotunda in.
Yeah.
I was actually shocked that IRS wasn't already in.
Same here. I thought Barry Windham is with the Horsemen though, right?
We won with the Horsemen. So and I guess now we kind of differentiate between going in with a group or a tag team and a singles. But yeah, I just really feel like you're in Philly. It would have been nice to give a little bit of a nod, especially the Attitude Era kind of feel for Raw is kind of back in style, and it kind of feels like a wasted opportunity.
Right. Mish, what do you feel? But do you think this is a kind of a wasted opportunity, or do you think that this is the kind of Hall of Fame class that we should be expecting, and that it's valid for WrestleMania as big as WrestleMania 40th anniversary?
I mean, it is winding down. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
For the most part, there isn't as many stars to put in. A lot of them are being put in post
posthumously.
Right, posthumously. Thank you. And it's kind of like I do agree in the sense that it should have been a little bit more ECW centric. But I did laugh when Kevin said, "Well, it's because they're in Philadelphia." I agree. That's why it's a lower end.
Nobody wants to go to Philadelphia.
But no, in general, it'll be fine. I think, as far as the Hall of Fames go, there are times where the Hall of Fame is special, like with Ray and Undertaker and stuff, where you get those big speeches. And I have no doubt that Paul Heyman is going to obviously steal the Hall of Fame as the head of it. I'm more curious. What do you guys think about Roman being the one to induct him?
I thought that was interesting. I wasn't surprised by it, but I was like, who would you like if you had to pick somebody else? Who would you have picked? Would it have been? I mean, I can't be Brock.
Right.
I think
it seems like Brock's getting a little bit out of trouble now that he's back in the game. So I don't know, but I didn't mean to
could have done it. Stone Cold could have done it.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
I'm in denial a little bit. I think that the Hall of Fame.
Watch out for hippopotamuses if you're in denial.
No, yeah, right. Everything else, WWE. I think we should take the rules from the past and not assume that they're the same.
Yeah,
I think that this is going to be part of the show. I think there's going to be some drama. I think that Roman inducting Paul Heyman is an opportunity for the bloodline to maybe, pretend they're going to do something. The Rock is there. There might be some other Samoans there. Maybe then you get the ECW legends coming out and backing down, some of the bloodline guy. I also am in double denial.
I don't know about, like, I've always wondered about that. Like, is this the year that they're gonna like pull a work in the middle of the Hall of Fame? I hope they never do that.
Well, they did it with
did last year.
A little bit with Ray and Dom.
Yeah.
But I'm in double. My double denial is this. I think the U.S. Express is not there by accident. I don't think the Bray doc came out by accident on April 1st. I don't believe anything from Sportskeeda anyway, and I think that interview was either a work or pre-taped or whatever the case may be. I don't walk in their shoes, so maybe it is entirely too soon and too stressful for them to do this. I don't have no idea, but I'm still in denial that Bray will be inducted. They'll be surprised. You got Barry there. You got his father there. The whole family's going to be there. And I don't remember, -1, suffering from being around the AEW. I mean, it was probably great for the kids to be around like superheroes and the production and being super popular. So I don't know. I'm like I said, I'm in denial, but I think that the old rules were thrown out when they inducted Ray while active and did some storyline with Rhea and Dom walking out in the middle of a speech.
Right.
So I think it's gonna be part of I think it's all part of the show. I think this whole weekend everything is up for fair game as being part of the show.
Right. Dis, what do you think? Are you in agreement with this, or do you think that that this is more of a lackluster Hall of Fame?
Okay, first off, going back to ECW, I don't think that it's such a big deal that ECW isn't being inducted or people from ECW aren't because Paul is. I think that, like, if you started inducting guys that were from ECW the year that Paul goes in, it kind of diminishes their induction a little bit. It just sounds like it's a theme induction. Like, we needed X amount of ECW guys to fill it up, so throw them in there. And I think Triple H is kind of redefining what the Hall of Fame is, right?
That's a good point.
He seems like he's doing like, okay, we have one big induction, we have somebody who is important backstage, we have it's like he has like 4 or 5 check boxes he has to get out of the way, and then he'll throw someone else in and then move on. And I think this will normalize in a couple years. I think we'll get used to it. Just this is what it's become. It's not, especially since, look, they don't even do a whole thing. It's after SmackDown in the same arena. They don't do the stage with the tables.
Yeah, I do kind of miss that.
I do too.
Even more of like a special feel. Now they're bringing. As far as I remember, they have not been inductors for a while. Like, have people been inducting people for the last couple of years? I thought that they weren't. I thought they had done away with that for the most part.
I think we went back to normal at least last year.
Okay. Last year.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, you're right. Last year they did. Now here's the thing, and I'm not. Maybe I need to brush up on my history. And they were like, The Rock's grandmother, Leah Maivia, she is the first female wrestling promoter. Now, was she around before Christine Jarrett? Or is this some WWE revisionist history that we're seeing right now? That was my question.
There's only oral history. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
I mean, honestly, it's probably within years of each other, if not less than that.
Right.
So when you go back that far.
I was like, when did Moolah start promoting? Because she was a female promoter as well.
Was she?
It gets a little dodgy, but
yeah, with the women it does, because there was a lot of crossover with the women.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, not to even get even more dodgy about it, but is WWE counting apartment wrestling in Germany? Because that was a thing back in the 50s.
Well, like, my question about Moolah is my question about Moolah, more realistically, I mean, less whatever. It's just, was she a real promoter, or was she just someone who had a promoter license so that Vince could run a certain town? And because that happened a lot. Right.
Well, I mean, that happens a lot today, right, Kev?
Right. Yeah.
No comment. I don't need the New York Athletic Commission knocking on my door tomorrow.
No, definitely not. We've just heard of things.
Wasn't that the James Dudley story? That was the whole thing with him, was that he was Vince's driver who Vince got to get a promoter's license so he could promote somewhere, and then they put him in the Hall of Fame. It said he was the first black
I never
promoter.
heard that.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Okay, so let me get through some super chats here. Desire Death says Tony Khan's lies don't stop. We won't be doing roster cuts and then 10 people. Do you think Cody wins just for Priest to cash in? We're gonna hit that second part as we talk about the WrestleMania card here. We will be circling back around to that, the roster cuts very soon. Desire, thank you so much, by the way, for the super chat. Let's see. Daniel Flores says wrestling soup kicks ass. There you go. You've gotten us some super chats tonight, Mish. I very much appreciate it. Okay, so and then we got another one. Okay, so East Side Reviews super chat $2. Thank you so much. Says she's the first female promoter of color. Okay, that makes sense. That does make sense. My favorite line from her in Young Rock, and I think it's something that, Kev, you probably understand this as a promoter and a booker. It's, she was like, they come to you, they tell you what they want to do, and you say you think about it, but then you never think about it. The little bit of Young Rock that I want, with Young Rock, I would get so annoyed with it because everybody would be like, you'd listen to like Cornette and he'd be like Andre the Giant wasn't in Hawaii in 1987. I'm like, it's not a documentary, it's a television show. But okay, so moving on to this WrestleMania card, I am very excited for this WrestleMania. I think it feels big. I think, I love the 2-night format. So let's go through. Night one, let's start at the bottom here. Rey and Dragon Lee versus Santos Escobar and Dominic Mysterio. All right. Dis, what do you think about this one? Do you think it's going to be like a real, Lucha Libre kind of... I was expecting them to say Lucha Rules, and nobody ever said that.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't go with like a hair versus mask match with Dom.
Yeah.
That seems way more interesting to me. But we're going to get a turn, right? That's what this is for.
You think somebody's going to turn on Rey?
Oh, Andrade or
right.
Dom could turn. I mean, because obviously there's something going on with Dom and Judgment Day where they're not cohesive right now, and he's more interested in Santos's group, and then there's the whole Andrade thing. Like, it just seems to me like something's going to happen here, and maybe even Carlito. Like, Carlito doesn't seem like he's.
No,
totally.
and I could see Carlito. I mean, Carlito's always better as a heel, in my opinion. Just infinitely more interesting. And look, he's better in the ring as a face because Carlito actually does this thing where, like, when he's a heel, he doesn't do the moves that make people pop because he wants them to boo him, kind of like what you're supposed to do. But so he's less interesting in the ring from that kind of perspective, but he is an exceptional heel. Mish, you seem to have some opinions on
yeah, no, totally. Carlito's amazing. Actually, I love this whole crossover with Dom kind of getting in there with Legado del Fantasma and Andrade showing up on Monday. Dude, I am all in favor of this. Huge fan of Santos. Looking forward to seeing what they do with this. As far as the turn goes, man, at this point, it almost feels like Judgment Day is going to be the ones doing the turn on Dominic.
Yeah, almost. Do you now? Dominic right now, I mean, the heel heat that he gets whenever, like, he has a microphone in his hand and he opens his mouth, it's ungodly. Like, do you guys agree? They got to do something. They got to do something with him at this point. He's that over.
They literally just have him introducing Ripley, who everybody loves, and they will still boo him over cheering her. That's how much heat this guy draws. And whether it's like the Kurt Angle, like, you suck kind of shtick, doesn't matter. People love to boo the hell out of Dominic. And it's not as if WWE hasn't paid attention.
Dis, what do you got?
I got to see a house show last year, and that was really interesting when it comes to the sound issue because everyone claims it's fake. And at the house show, which was a 5,000 person house show, no big deal, you could tell what they actually do, and it's brilliant promoting. I mean, as a wrestling promoter, it's a brilliant thing. Mm-hmm. What they're actually doing is they're not turning or they're not pumping the crowd noise and turning off, cutting the speed. They are just putting the crowd noise through the speakers back at you, like like on TV. They're not cutting. It's hard to explain. When I was there live, you could tell the crowd was just as you couldn't hear a word Dom was saying. They were not cutting his mic there.
I mean, for you to not be able to hear a word he's saying on television, that's something.
Yeah. When you're there live, you can tell what they're doing with it, and it's really smart. It's a good move because all they're doing is showing you what it sounds like to be there in the arena, basically.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of like I said this last week, I think that the reason, and Kev, I think you'll agree with me here. I think the reason that Dominic is as over as he is as a heel is that he does the cowardly heel perfectly.
Absolutely.
And there's nothing that pisses off grown men more than a shit talker who runs away. And nobody wants to do that anymore. Nobody wants to be like, and it's a recipe for heat.
The chicken heel, it's a lost art. And when you watch how Dominic progressed, because again, like you got to remember, like we're watching this kid learn live on the road. So you see from like when he first started with Ray to where he is now, the growth has been tremendous in terms of how he sells, how he moves, his timing. It's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. And then his character work on top of that, like through Instagram, they essentially rebooted who his character was by sending him to jail for 48 hours, and you essentially made him the most hated person on the roster. And again, like now he has all this energy and emotion built into whatever he's going to do next. And again, like I said, it kind of outshines the Judgment. Like people kind of want to cheer the Judgment Day. They're the cool bad guys,
right?
But give Dominic the mic, and he shuts everything down.
Yeah.
And my favorite thing being when Triple H was on TV and he was in the ring with them, and he was like, "Oh, that is real." He broke the fourth wall for you to kind of be like, "No, it's okay to be like, no, this is something special." So you take a look at how young Dominic is and how far he's come along. Now, just imagine, again, very similar to Eddie. What happens when you turn this kid face? He's a good-looking athletic kid who walked. Now, just imagine, Priest kicks Dominic in the face for not being there, and now you've got a kid who can absorb all this heat, and he's gonna want to. You're gonna want to see him get the moment where he can finally get some revenge. Like it's whatever the plan is. I really feel like there are no bad decisions here. Either you lead the Judgment Day together.
Just wait for mine. I can give you some bad decisions now. I mean, listen, I don't know what's going to happen in this match, which I think is delightful. I think there is going to be some sort of swerve, but I don't think it's going to be something that we necessarily. I don't think that they're going to have, shenanigans from the outside. You have that in too many matches,
right?
I think the only person who's not going to turn is Rey Mysterio. My dark horse swerve is that it's Dragon Lee who actually turns, because he's been sort of overshadowed. But here's what you do with Dominic. Next, you pair him with Nia Jax, and then he gets booed with her. Then you pair him with Jade, and then he gets booed with her. You just pair him with like all of like the giant statuesque women. Then Tiffany Stratton.
You
just keep making him like the opposite Otis. That he's like the ladies' man, and
the opposite Otis.
Until Ray is ready to retire, and Ray says, "Okay, we need the next 3 months to have him betrayed by somebody, and people feel bad for him, and then we need the next 3 months for me to slowly." Start to forgive him as a father, and then the next 3 months lead up to WrestleMania, where we reunite and beat up the bad guys, and I give him my mask.
At the end of the day, the one thing I really want them to do with Dominic is they got to do. Remember the jailhouse match between the Big Boss Man and the Mountie?
Oh, classic!
How do you not do that with Dominic? Like you do that, and you have Dominic lose, and you have them carting him off to jail, and you do the same thing with like him getting fingerprinted. Like my favorite
in the jail cell, the whole bit.
When the Mountie was like, "Don't take my picture, don't take my picture," and then the guy goes, "Here, the Big Boss Man kicked your ass tonight." And he's like, "What?" And he looks up and they take the picture. I still laugh thinking about it. It's so good.
Well, you have to create a new police faction, call them Deep State or something.
Oh, that'd be good. Deep State.
False flag.
Yeah. Before we get on, let me take a look. I know a couple super chats have come in. Let's see. All right. John JID 999 says, just want to support the show. Next Gen is really good, and this new speed show online looks promising. WWE is doing all the right things right now. I agree. They're doing a lot good. There's a lot that they're doing very well right now. I think they're making more money than they've ever made before. John also says the way Dom begs off like a scared Jimmy Hart is fire. That is a good one. Is scared Jimmy Hart. Like that's
who you can tell worked with him is Bruce.
Yeah,
you can see the brother love stuff, but the brother love stuff was all stolen from Jimmy Hart anyway.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean?
Right.
Noah, thank you for the super chat. Didn't have anything you wanted us to say, but we're happy to have you here. Okay, so moving along, we won't spend this much time on all of the on every match, but all right. So back to night one: Bianca, Naomi, and Jade versus Damage Control. So Dakota Kai, Asuka, and Kairi Sane. The most racist match that's ever been booked, guys.
I'm disgusted.
How dare they have 3 black women stand next to each other in the ring? I am appalled.
Oh, I thought Dakota was the racist one by doing all the talking.
Oh no, it's okay. Look, every all Asian girls have their one weeb friend that follows them around and pretends.
Isn't New Zealand sort of Asia adjacent anyway?
That's close enough.
Oh my god.
Close enough.
Oh, we're gonna get letters.
I almost did a spit take.
Yeah.
No? Is that wrong? Okay.
Yeah, the fact that the people were like, "That's racist." I'm like, you ended the show with 3 strong, powerful black women standing together triumphantly. Like they've just drove off the heel group that's been kicking the crap out of the entire women's roster now for like 2 years, and they're pointing at the WrestleMania side, and they look amazing, and they're strong and powerful. What more do you want?
This was about as racist as that Olympics picture from.
Hold on, one at a time.
Hey, whoa, Dos, you can't talk about this. Apollo, please.
Oh,
yes, Apollo, you are the only one that's allowed to weigh in.
That's right. I learned that earlier in the week. That's right. Sorry.
I was like, and psychopaths. It worked because no one said, "Look at these 3 powerful black women."
Could you imagine if like Corey Graves said something like that? Oh my god.
Wade Barrett.
Yeah,
Wade. Because these strong characters push back on the heels. They happened to be black. People are effing stupid. It just, I don't know what happened, what we put in the water supply, but like since 2008, there are racists everywhere. Everything is racist.
What is that? Anita Sarkeesian. That I should have pulled that clip where she's like, everything is sexist, everything is racist, everything is homophobic, and you have to call it all out.
I do like the joke about how WWE always puts races together. I think that's funny to talk about.
I mean, that's an old school wrestling thing.
That's a wrestling thing.
Yeah, when Bobby Lashley was putting his group together, I put a collage together, and it was like every black wrestler, and Akeem was in the corner also. You got to put Akeem in there. But look, it was such a good visual to end the show on, and it's empowering for people, and it's a good thing.
You'd think that like you see this, and everyone that wants more inclusion and wants more diversity in wrestling is going to look at this and see it's great, but instead they looked at it, and the only thing you saw on Twitter the next day. And everyone that did it looked like that, by the way.
There was a lot of complaining. It was a lot of empty threats. It comes from a place of just needing something to bitch about, Marvin. Like, that's really what it is. They didn't pay attention to the angle, or they didn't want to pay attention to it. They didn't see it for being 3 powerful women. I mean, standing in the middle of the ring, standing against the Asian invasion plus Dakota.
Yes.
Like it was really silly to see how much feedback it got for all the wrong reasons, as opposed to seeing, okay, now we've got our 3-on-3 match that's coming in hot. You know, it's eventually right.
And it's a vehicle for
when it was the baddies. I mean,
well, it's a vehicle for now for Jade, because we have to kind of, protect her a little bit right now, because what we saw when, she didn't go to NXT, and I was like, hey, they should probably send her to NXT, like on camera. I know she trained there, at the Performance Center with Sean for 6 months, but she wasn't on TV in NXT, and I was like,
I think she's going to be a big surprise, dude. I really do. Absolutely. I think there's no way that WWE is spending this much time keeping her under wraps, and just not training her in the back.
I'm sure they're training her, but like she came out on Raw, on SmackDown, and she looked like $1 million, right?
Yeah.
And she got in, she took the microphone, and then she opened her mouth, and I was like, oh, that wasn't good.
She needs a mouthpiece. She'll
get there. I say your biggest hint on how her performance is going to be a surprise is when you look at how she delivered her moves in AEW versus how everything went last week. It was crisp. It was smooth. She looked strong. Now, yes, some of that has to do with her dance partners, but this is a different Jade. This is a different Jade. It was from that first kick to I think it was Asuka, where she essentially big boots her to hell. It all looked good. So putting her in this six woman, whatever, the putting in this 6-person tag match,
six ethnics.
Yes. In this bodega match.
Oh no!
Oh no!
I couldn't help it.
In a Punjabi prison match.
We'll put all the foreigns in there. I don't know. Put all the ones that aren't whiteies in the other.
Get him in there. I don't know how to book them, so just throw them together.
You
Put it from New Zealand. What the hell is that?
Talk to Zelina Vega.
I laid it all out there when I feuded with Booker T. These people don't get to win. Like, did you all think that was shoot? Though I will say that is still the most ridiculous feud of all time, because they build up this thing, they make Triple H this massive racist, and Ric Flair just got to be Ric Flair, aka a massive racist. But when he was like, I'm gonna drag you around the ring until your skin's a few shades lighter, and I was like, whoa, okay, I know that it's the early 2000s, but that was a little far even for me. But Triple H does this whole thing of people like you don't win championships, and I was like, okay, so clearly this is gonna be Booker's moment. This is it. He's going to rise up against the evil racist, and he's going to hold up that belt, and it's going to be this empowering moment. Not only does he lose, but he gets pedigreed.
That was my only problem with that. With that, like if they would have done the exact same thing and just had Booker T overcome the odds and win, then you're telling a story. But they had him lose.
It told a story.
Yeah,
it just wasn't the right story.
Right, Kev, what were you saying?
It's a pedigree. Count to 20. It's over.
Right.
He waited so long.
Got a couple of wins back though, huh?
He
guys?
did. He did. But Triple H waited so long. I think it's because he thought that Shelton Benjamin was Booker T. So he was like, "Don't worry, look, I'm doing right by you, kid. I'm giving you your job back."
Now, listen, guys, Jade can speak, and I remember distinctly a line that she used, and she can use it here. She can go, Dakota, cut the shit, and nobody gives a shit about that karate stuff.
Oh no!
Did you ever hear the Vince story where he called he called somebody Shelton?
No.
Did you ever hear about that? They were having a meeting, and like Jason Jordan stood up and he started talking about something, and then Vince goes, "Good point, Shelton."
No.
Oh man.
Oh, I think that was always been one of my running jokes about Triple H, is that he thinks every black person is Booker T. Like he walks past Mark Henry in the hallway and he's like, "Oh wow, when did Booker let himself go?" But
I feel so bad because that's literally my son he's on the spectrum and he's face blind, so he can only tell very alarming details. And we went to his first wrestling show, and we bought a Sami Zayn shirt from the counter, and then we went to watch the match, and the ref from SmackDown was reffing, and he goes, "Hey, that's the girl that sold me my t-shirt." And I was like,
oh no.
And I was like, no, son, that's not the same person.
No, we don't say that in public.
And then I have to explain to him, he's face blind. It's not that.
No, I totally get it. I totally get that. Producer Neckbeard is back in. Neckbeard, did you want to weigh in on a racial conversation? He's still muted.
He's muted.
That gives me an opportunity to catch up on some super chats. WC, I heard Don Tony Eats going the long way.
Oh come on now.
Oh no. East Side Reviews, as a member of the black delegation, I loved that ending. Honestly, it was a lot of fake outrage. I'm
assuming he means the women pointing and not Booker T losing.
Not Booker T, no. Not Booker T getting pedigreed and waiting 20 seconds and then being pinned.
Right.
You're full 20 seconds. He's crawling over, and I'm like, okay, they've waited so long. He's definitely kicking out of this.
He gave him just long enough to make people think
was those athletes in Berlin who posed together. That was what a horrible picture that was.
Right. Oh no. They only see 3 black women, not 3 strong ones. That's exactly it. They didn't understand. They didn't put the surprise. These people didn't put context to things. They canceled. A bunch of we all know exactly what the people look like that are doing this.
What
That
do
is
we got here? A bunch of haters?
Septum ring.
Couple of haters.
an exact picture of what they look like. Okay, Shaggy Filth says A+ panel this week. Thank you so much, and thank you for the super chat. Colin Taylor checking in says Russo would have booked it as the chicken and rice match. Please don't cancel me. Oh,
Oh, that's good. That took me a second.
We're gonna put some chicken on a pole.
oh no. We can't make the pole too tall because
Easy,
the short.
Easy, bro. You know these broads can't climb, so put a step ladder in there. It'll be over.
One pole will be extra tall, and the other pole will be very short.
Oh no! Oh my goodness! It's like the flag match where you climb to get like the Russia versus U.S. and you got to climb to get your flag off the pole and then you get to wave your flag around.
Absolutely.
Oh no! Oh, that was so terrible, but it was so funny. Okay, it's okay. Kevin laughed, so it's all right. Daniel Flores, thank you for the super chat. I'm excited for that match. I'm going to Mania. Tony Khan will lose it, and the Mox that hate women's wrestling. It's going to be fun. Yeah, that should be fun. Cringy AEW fans, his neckbeard is better producer than Tony Khan. He had about the same level of experience when he started, but he's doing a good job. Okay, let's see. The next match to discuss here. Night 1 of WrestleMania. We got the 6-pack ladder match for the Undisputed Tag Team Championships. Judgment Day versus Awesome Truth versus DIY versus New Day versus New Catch Republic versus A-Town Down Under. This is, I mean, look, it's not going to be a clusterfuck because they're not going to let it be a clusterfuck. It's going to be highly produced, but this is just the annual, like, how many guys can we get on WrestleMania in one match kind of thing.
Lazy booking.
Yep.
With 2 sets of champions, that's all I care about, and one will be the New Day.
Yeah. Mish, what do you think about that?
Yeah, no, it's literally what it is. It's just trying to get everybody a little bit of showcase at WrestleMania. I'm perfectly fine with it. You knew there's going to be a couple of these. I'm kind of surprised at that, what is it, the Andre the Show Battle Royal on Friday or whatever the hell's going on. I'm surprised they didn't push that to WrestleMania too. But yeah, there's always got to be a couple of these matches where it's just going to kind of showcase. And have they filled up all the tag team slots yet, or is there still some to be decided?
I think they're all filled in.
Meltzer put out
there's been the false flags, or maybe real flag, but it's from Meltzer, so let's assume it's a false flag.
Okay.
The Waller Down Under or A-Town Down Under might be vacated out of there, and they may replace them, hopefully with the Sangha Maniacs, if there's any god.
What are you talking about? It's going to totally be the Hardys, right?
Oh my God.
Oh, I will not die.
No, it'll be the Motor City Machine Guns.
I will not retire. Damn you, Adam.
Honestly, I would kind of pop if it was the Motor City Machine Guns.
I would pop if it was the Motor City
Oh,
Machine
me
Guns.
too. Me too. Me too. That man.
No, it's
Joey Numbers in the chat is actually saying that the rumor's Motor City too. So
is it really? I mean,
I just started that rumor. What are you talking about?
I thought that they were locked in with TNA right now, or maybe
they're out.
They just got out.
They're locked out.
They're one of the people that walked after Scott D'Amore took his height.
Interesting. That's interesting.
Listen, when you see Chris Sabin on WWE, it's going to be like a Leo Rush moment where Elias goes, "Whose kid is this?" I mean, everyone's going to be like, "Who's that? Who's that?"
As long as it isn't a Braden Walker push there, Dose.
Oh, Braden Walker. Oh man.
Actually, NXT. Okay, they'd be perfect in NXT as like a trainers / workers.
Yeah, I mean, Sabin, I remember there were rumors of him actually becoming a trainer at NXT for a while.
Yeah.
I think he was like
and Shelley has a shoot job in Orlando.
Does he?
Chiropractor or something. Yeah. So I mean, that would be perfect for him. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's a physical therapist, and actually Shelley was on NXT with what's his face when they did the Time Splitters.
Okay, so we're all in agreement that they're going to use this as a vehicle to split the belts, right?
Yes.
Sorry.
The only thing, I mean, look, I hope that happens, but the only must that I have in this match, the thing that I want to see more than anything in the world, I want R-Truth walking out of there with a belt. I mean, I love him so much. He's doing some of the best work of his career. And look, at the end, I think I said this last week on this show. I don't remember if it was this show, if it was Pro Wrestle Times, but here's the thing with R-Truth and why everyone's like, oh my God, why is R-Truth like so much funnier now than he's ever been? And I'm like, because he's being written by people who are funny.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more like they took the chains off. I mean, no pun intended with that, but I mean, Vince McMahon didn't get a lot of jokes and probably didn't understand why R-Truth was funny. It wouldn't be the first time that we've heard that Vince McMahon didn't understand something that everybody else was dying of laughter. R-Truth is a naturally charismatic guy.
Yep.
And as much, I don't listen to his music very much, but I see a lot of positive feedback for that. It seems like he's kind of the all-star athlete through and through. So the fact that now they're figuring out like, hey, let's put more camera time on R-Truth, he makes segments better, is only positive for everybody. And I totally agree. If they give him a little gold again, I'm okay with it. There's nothing wrong with that because honestly, and I hate to say this here, but how much longer does he really have?
Well, he's 52. He's a 52-year-old man who moves and looks like he's still in his 20s. He's a freak of nature. He's a phenom. So it's awesome to kind of see that. One of the things that I was worried about, and I will admit, is when everything changed over, is that I thought R-Truth might get lost in the shuffle. You know, as soon as we got rid of the whatever the hell was the 24/7.
Yeah, that was hokey.
We
were trying to capture lightning in a bottle there, like we did. We were trying to get like the Crash Holly, the wonder that was Crash Holly.
Well, it worked when R-Truth had it.
Yeah.
And whenever anybody else didn't have it, it didn't resonate the same. It was the R-Truth title. He carried those segments again, like we're talking about now. He just shines. It doesn't matter what you give the guy, he shines. He was.
Not to mention the fact that the night that he came back was the same night that CM Punk and Randy Orton came back.
Yeah.
Okay. And then he went on to be the top merch seller in the company for like a month.
Outsold all of them.
Yeah.
With those Judgment Day shirts. That was amazing.
So he's fantastic. I think it's going to end up. I think they're going to split it with DIY. I think DIY is going to win one. Austin
God.
The other.
Oh God.
I mean, look, DIY. I don't. Look, they first of all, thank you, Stone Mexican guy for the super chat. Mish is so kawaii. So.
Ooh woo.
But I don't understand because DIY, they're so talented, right? Like they're so good in the ring. Why does no one care? Why do they come out to silence?
I think people care about Ciampa. I think people do not care about Gargano.
Gargano's burned a lot of bridges, man.
And I have a theory about that. Like they came in at the time where Triple H expected people just to get over because they were over in NXT and did nothing to really introduce these people to the audience. And remember, they brought him in as the Way, and they had him just, this is the Way, and people were just like, who the hell is the Way? I don't know who these people are.
Yeah.
And he assumes that the NXT audience and the Raw audience are the same, and they're not. So there was never anything. Yeah, there was never anything done to make Gargano interesting to the Raw audience, and because of that, he just languished. He's just another guy on the roster.
But Gargano lost me personally. When you're talking about NXT and Gargano, obviously he had like year-long feuds even with Ciampa and stuff. But Gargano lost me when he single-handedly beat Bronson Reed like he was a cruiserweight.
Yeah,
beat him up like a cruiserweight, and I'm like, I'm done with Gargano. This Super Cena shtick with Gargano never flew with me,
and that's why.
So now that he's up on the main roster, it's not as if we don't know the guy. I'm just not really behind him. And as other people are even saying too, he's got the personality of a rock.
Yeah,
the guy really doesn't have much substance.
Let me break this down and explain it to everyone. Johnny Gargano has zero. That's it. Zero. Nothing. Zero.
I've always worked on the theory. So you don't. Oh, go ahead, Kev. Before I
give him this, he gives you good pre-tape. Hey, we're gonna tape this vignette. I need you to deliver these lines. Do it moderately convincingly.
Right.
I think that was his strength in NXT. But when you put him in front of a live crowd, who cares? Again, like I said, we brought the Way back. Effing disaster. I think they hurt. I think they hurt Indy by putting her with Gargano and Candice. I think we're trying to get blood from a stone with this Candice heel turn. It's just I think putting DIY back together again is a last ditch effort, but I think they're slowly killing Ciampa because after he split from the Miz, you kind of saw it. You saw the old Ciampa kind of start to shine a little bit, the NXT Ciampa that everybody wants. But the problem is the roster is so big, you can't get everybody out there at the exact same time. And it's one of those things where if you can't shine bright when you're there, you go to the bottom of the pile. And that's kind of a tough thing to do. Because again,
heels.
Yeah, so it's like
in sincerity, there's really only two things that they can do with Gargano at this point. One is what they said they would never do again at NXT, but nobody watches NXT. They can have Ciampa and Gargano feud again for a year and see if that works. Or two, make Gargano a manager because he's small and he is funny. He does have good comedic timing. He's got that stupid haircut, so he's sort of like Andre Chase, so he could be that annoying punch in the face manager who can take bumps and wrestle every now and then. So. If you want to preserve him, that's what I do.
I have heard a rumor that Ciampa is actually going to take some time away, though, because he has got to go with his cousin back to the Misty Mountains to get the Arkenstone from the Dragon Smaug, who's been hoarding it for all these years. God, tell me he does not look like a Lord of the Rings dwarf.
He really does.
Far over
Let me hear some of my sources from the underworld. Yeah, that checks out.
Yeah. But no, I've always considered the fact, we talked about the Sheamus when Triple H created Sheamus in you Sheamus. I think that he moved on to he needs a strong body to transfer his superstar essence into, and he chose Gargano, but he's just not over enough. He's not over enough to contain my superstar essence. I'll get you over, I swear to God.
His over level is -10. What is this?
It needs to be over 9,000.
Honestly, the biggest thing about the Gargano troop there, I'm missing Dexter Lumis. I know you have some.
Yes, you know what? One of the super chats just came through. Desire Death said maybe we see the GOAT Dexter Lumis return, and I do love Dexter Lumis.
I think he really released him at some point.
No,
he went to work on a show.
Oh, okay.
No, I have a theory. I think that he was held with Eric Rowan in the back to be part of Bray's family, and I think they're still going to bring them back. Wasn't his story that he got arrested on NXT, and that was the last time we saw him with Indy Hartwell? Well, yeah, I guess that's true. I don't know if that was his story. I think that just might be the last time he was on TV.
No, I'm just saying, they could say that he's been in jail this whole time.
So you have Dominic loses the jailhouse match, and he goes to jail for a night, and Dexter Lumis is his cellmate.
He's been on TV since because when they were doing the Way thing, they were teasing Indy and him on Raw. And that's, in my opinion, where they really messed up, because nobody had any idea why you would be teasing him and Indy when they'd been spending 6 months doing something with him and Nikki on the main roster. And then all of a sudden Vince is gone. So Triple H comes in and then says, "Oh, I'm going to do the thing I did in NXT." And then everyone's like, "Wait a second. This was another girl a minute ago. And now it's this girl. And we don't care about this girl. And she's kind of, I don't know. She's not as good looking as the other girl."
I now just keep picturing Triple H like with a Dragon Ball Z scouter on his head that checks your over level. Truth goes out there. And he's like beep 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 beep, and blows up on his face. He's like, "Oh wow, good for Booker T. He finally found his niche."
That's where I think happened with Dexter.
Super Jeff and Dave says Uncle Dave has CET. You guys are maniacs, and I love it. Thank you. You guys are saying it, not us. So we're okay. We can get away with it.
Oh yeah, we're doing great.
Eddie Valentino says, Gargano beat Bronson clean. LOL, love you, Mish.
It bothers me. I love Bronson Reed. That's my guy. I've enjoyed him for a while, and I really think that
you're very defensive of him. I understand. I understand.
I'm a big fan of the Meat guys.
Moving on. We got Battle of the Usos, Jay and Jimmy. Now, we've all been looking forward to this match for years now, but I feel like once it came, everybody was like, I don't know if I want that anymore.
I never cared.
They got to heat it up.
Yeah.
They got to heat it up.
But there's no time to heat it up. We're at game day now.
If they focused like the main story of SmackDown on that match, since they did the main story of the other one on Raw, it maybe you could heat it up.
One thing that they can do is one of those amazing vignettes to really call back the Jimmy and Jay split and give everybody those feels on Friday and maybe even on Saturday and Sunday to show that actual showcase between them. I think a really good package could bring people right back in.
I think you're right. Who would have ever, I said this to a friend the other day. I was like, who would have ever thought that we'd be like, oh, Jay Uso is like one of the Usos is now like the Usos are now independent characters of each other, and like Jay Uso is a bona fide main eventer now. Like I would have imagined it in a million years, but they did it.
Right.
They did it. I mean, he's seen as a main guy now. I just look, when brothers wrestle, you either get Brett and Owen, where it's like wonderful and like they like know each other so well and they like perfectly complement each other, or you get Matt versus Jeff, which is always an abysmal abomination.
Matt
always option, and I know that nobody watches Ring of Honor or watched it, but I did. And when the Briscoes had a feud, and their father basically banged their heads together and said, "You boys, you fight, and you fight on the chicken ranch." And if Rikishi sort of did the same thing, or Rikishi did the same thing, and they brought in the uncles. I've been the one criticism I've consistently with Bloodline stuff is they haven't used the family and like armies of Samoans and vignettes, and the tribal warfare thing. They didn't do vignettes. They haven't done like the 5 families, like gathering the whole head of the table thing. They didn't have Haku representing the Tongan, and then this.
I was just gonna say Haku should have been in there somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, and I still think that maybe we'll get something with. Well, I keep being disappointed, but anyway, Rikishi banging their heads together, saying, "Boys, you leave everything out there, but when you win, you're brothers again."
Yeah, you know what? I think that's a great idea. I think Rikishi being out, like, that would have definitely been something good. And yeah, I don't know why they haven't pulled the trigger. I always thought that like why isn't Nia Jax with the Bloodline? Like, like I thought they needed a woman. Like I thought they needed a woman, or even Naomi, like because she's married to Jimmy. Like you put Naomi in there, and then you can have the women's title. Where's Tamina been
for?
I don't know. She quietly retired. From what I understood about Tamina, she's quietly retired, but they haven't made a big deal about it.
I mean, there is nobody Mina.
All right, then pockets.
Don't start Mish on Tamina.
She did kind of disappear around the time that the whole Jimmy Snuka stuff started. Really,
gee, I wonder why.
Yeah, so maybe that has something to do with it. But yeah, they have 3. I mean, they have her, they have Nia, now they have Naomi back. I mean, any one of them could be involved somehow.
But at this point, every faction has a woman. If the Bloodline did, it's just wrote at this point. It's just it'd be like just cut it out. I mean, if they're going to do it, at least add 6 women, so at least it's different.
Some super chats. JPS, thank you very much. Says heel Candace is exactly what we needed from her. I agree.
Maybe. Sure.
Definitely. Desire Death says, does anyone think R-Truth and Dexter tag equals fire? That would be a good tag team.
That'd be hilarious.
Actually, yes.
Especially because Dexter doesn't talk. That's amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
And R-Truth would know exactly what he's saying the whole time, and Dexter would never contradict him, even if he's not thinking it. Yeah.
And he would translate to the crowd like what he's going to say at the time.
It's like what was it, that Richard Pryor movie and Gene
yes,
Wilder.
Hear No Evil.
Yes.
Stone Mexican guy says Mish loves BBW, big beefy wrestlers. Man, you are getting savage tonight, my friend.
I love him, man.
What's wrong with that? Sure. How's that a bad thing?
Alejandro Melendez, thank you so much. He says, "Who's ready for Brawl Out 2? Here comes the Monet."
Oh.
It's gonna be that scene from Mean Girls where like they're all fighting in the school hallways, and like and Tony Khan is gonna be Tim Meadows as the principal, like running and hiding. Like, nope, not dealing with this.
Or the dean from Glendale Community College.
Oh,
just bring back Britt. Britt can come back soon enough. I can't wait.
Oh my goodness. I thought, did you mean Greendale? Did you mean from Community, the dean?
I did, yeah.
Oh, okay. I think you said Glendale.
You said
Riverdale. I wasn't sure.
I'm sorry.
Oh my goodness.
If
I'm having a rough day, one of the things that I like to do is I'll put on a dean from Community, like a whole thing with like him just doing all this stuff. Like, I'm a peanut bar and I'm here to say your checks will arrive on another
up here. No.
I love that. All right, so moving on. We got Intercontinental Championship, Gunther versus Sami Zayn in a match that I really feel like no one's excited for.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that it's just kind of like, I know you have some strong feelings on this one, especially with the way Chad Gable's been handled. So I'm going to let you take the floor on this one.
I love Sami. Like my son is interested in wrestling because of Sami Zayn. I have a thing with Sami. Like Sami's my guy. But man, it's just not hitting. It's not hitting. It feels undeserved. It feels like it's the same thing they did with Indy and freaking Nikki Cross. you try to transfer all the storyline from one person to another person, and it just isn't working for me. But Phil, Pro Wrestling Times, brought it up to me. They're going to France for Backlash, and Sammy knows French, so you got to put him in a prominent space. And I'll stand on business. I get it, but I don't have to like it, you know. So, I just think, and now especially the Zack Ryder Gable on Raw through, you know, and he's just coming off such like a little buddy. Like it seems like a step down for Gable when he was on his way up, and it bothers me because I do like Gable a lot.
You don't think he's going to turn on Sammy Monday night?
I think he could, and I think that'd be an interesting direction. But I think the problem with that is that then you have all this goodwill built up for Otis and Maxine and Tozawa, and if you leave them without anything, I mean, they were fun low card wrestlers, and if you leave them without Gable, I don't know what they are at that point. Maybe put them with the Creeds and do something there. But he definitely shouldn't join Imperium. I can tell you that much. That's
definitely not. He does. That would not be a thing.
Yeah,
I think I just
say European.
Yeah, the story just seems to be Gable and Gunther. That's the story they gave us. That's the story that deserves a payoff. And there's never it doesn't feel like there's ever gonna be a payoff. And maybe there will someday. Maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe,
but even if they go with Sammy and Gable afterwards and have Gable win, it still doesn't feel right because his heat was on Gunther, you know. So I don't know. That's just it just feels like poor storytelling to me.
John JID 999, thank you for the super chat, says, I hope Gunther crushes Sammy's dreams so we get Gunther versus Ilya. That needs to happen in 2024. I've been waiting in the wings for too long to come up. Yeah, I mean, what do you guys think about that?
I think Ilya is probably going to wind up coming up, and the match with Gunther and Sammy isn't hitting because it's just a throwaway match. It's like the match should be Gunther and Gable. I understand why you don't want to do it too many times, but let's do it at least one more time on the biggest stage that there is. I think Gunther's future lies in when they decide to put this belt on Cody.
Yes.
I think when Cody is crowned champion, Gunther is probably going to be his first major nemesis. Yeah.
And I love Sammy, like I said, but how many moments is this guy gonna get? Yeah. Like he got Royal Rumble, he got Elimination Chamber, he got WrestleMania, he got the Raw in Canada, he got Saudi Arabia. Like, I mean,
what else would you have done? What else would you have done with him this year? I don't think you could have not done something with him.
No, you put him on a mid-card match. You had a decent little feud going with Shinsuke. If they would have given that a few more weeks and a few more promos, you could have built to something that felt at least mid-card worthy.
Okay.
Throw him in there and then move him up after Mania to fight someone else. You know, he doesn't need to have a heart-wrenching moment on every show, you know, like that can't be your gimmick. Your gimmick
As a
can't
resident filthy casual, I need to remind us, and we're part of the IWC, that the real world doesn't really care that much about Chad Gable, and the real world does care about Sami Zayn. And
my 10-year-old son cares a lot about Chad Gable, and he is very casual.
Okay. Chad Gable sold him a hamburger yesterday. Come on.
That's true.
That's true. Oh no, that was a good one. That was a callback.
Yeah. I think Chad Gable is one of those guys who is right on the cusp of a transcending to the next level.
Right.
You know, everybody loves the Alpha Academy. Everybody knows when he's going to have a match, it's going to be a banger. It's just and he survived Shorty G.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so like he showed you that he can entertain in either direction. He has the charisma, he has the look. It's just a matter of timing. It's just a matter of timing. It's just him and Gunther together are magic.
Yeah.
And it's weird to me that they chose to not give them the WrestleMania stage while also pointing it out too. Because the other part of this is, hey, yeah, the person who watches Raw every Monday, who pulls in the casuals, they're going, these guys have been killing each other for the better part of 8 months. So now Sammy kind of stole a slot, and you kind of intuitively kind of agree with Chad a little bit. Like, you're not the guy to beat Gunther. You're the guy who's gotten all these WrestleMania moments. I haven't gotten squat. So I think it accidentally pulled down your enthusiasm for seeing Sami Zayn perform.
I'm kind of in a different level here because I look at it and I kind of agree more with Dose in this. Sammy was a part of a major part of WrestleMania and the Royal Rumble and everything last year, and he's still hot on the, basically with the fans, even to this year with the trail of that. Even though they split up him and Kevin Owens, Sammy is absolutely the more recognizable guy. Chad almost suffers from being too good of a wrestler. Not saying it doesn't work for a lot of people, but I think a lot of the IWC fans attached to the fact that he is a great technician in the ring and he gives us the matches that we crave to see on a regular basis within any wrestling promotion. But the problem is he hasn't made that true connection with the fans yet. He hasn't had his Kurt Angle moment. He hasn't had his Austin 316. I think what Chad really needs is a moment that he can break out as a character. And like you said, he did survive the Shorty G, which was absolutely silly and not really good for his character. But I mean, some people liked it, but I don't think he should be a comedy character. I think that this buildup with him and Sammy is probably the start of building him up as a sympathetic babyface, which is something he really hasn't been. He's been the shush guy for so long. I think people forget that this guy is capable of so much more. But right now, I think it's still Sammy's time. I think even if it's at the twilight of Sammy's time, piggybacking off of his great year last year, it's still something important. And let's be honest too, this is a match that I think a lot of people are expecting, or at least wanting Gunther to lose, not because people want to see Gunther lose, but because they want to see Gunther excel into more main event categories, more main event matchups down the road. And I think a lot of us don't really believe that he's going to be able to do that with the IC around his waist. So this has to be a pass off. And if this leads to a Sammy versus Chad Gable storyline down the road, perhaps. If it leads to more matches between Gunther and Chad, or even Gunther and Sammy again, that would be fine too. But I think the whole premise is to elevate Chad and elevate Sammy. But right now, I think Sammy's got a much bigger lead as far as the casuals go.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that that's a really good point. And I think they also understand that sometimes denying a situation that a lot of the smart Maki fans want builds a guy up a little bit more than if they just gave it to him.
Oh yeah.
And so maybe it's kind of like what you're saying, like Chad needs to just kind of bake a little bit more.
Are you calling me a smart Marky fan?
Yes. Yes, 110%.
Because I can test that a little bit.
Noah says Brett Yoko WrestleMania 10 rematch versus Cody Roman XL rematch. I think you got to go Cody Roman as the better rematch, because I think the Brett and Yoko at WrestleMania 9, I think the problem with both Brett and Yoko matches is the finish, right? Brett drops to the salt, and then Hogan comes in and brothers his way, into the end of WrestleMania 9, and then the next year you've got this. So I've been watching past WrestleManias for a Face Lock feature that I'm doing this week. I had to watch WrestleMania 1, 10, 20, and 30. And so I'm watching 10, and I'm watching the match, and I'm like, oh, I don't remember how this match ends. Can Brett actually get him in the sharpshooter? And I'm sitting there waiting to see, and then Yokozuna just falls off the turnbuckle, like completely unassisted, and Brett just pins him, and I'm like, what just happened? And then I looked it up online, and I'm like, is there a legend around this or something? Because there's got to be something that I'm missing here.
Brett wrote it in his book. He said it in his book.
What did Brett say? Because
he literally couldn't put the sharpshooter on the Yokozuna at that.
Well, no, but I mean, the reason why he fell off the turnbuckle, and somebody was like, well, maybe the story was probably that, Yoko had wrestled 2 matches, and Brett was just in so much better condition than him, so Brett can handle that, and Yokozuna, just kind of passed out from exhaustion. And I was like, well, the commentators didn't put that over, and that's weird because one of the commentators was Vince. So, if he wanted that put over, if that was his story, then it should. So, yeah, for me, Cody and Roman was I think it was an incredible match, and I think a lot of people don't give it the flowers that it deserves because of the fact that Cody didn't win. But if you go back and watch that match, it's fantastic. Oh, yeah. It's fantastic.
It was bad.
I will say we'll probably know better next week.
Yes.
On which one was better.
Bold statement. My predictions will be 100% next week. I'm telling you guys.
In pure Dave Meltzer fashion, I will say that Cody will either win this match or he might lose.
Ooh. Yes. That makes perfect sense.
Or double DQ. It could be a double DQ.
Colin Taylor says, I live in Japan, but I watch WWE via US TV on the military base where I work, so I don't know much about J Wrestling fans. Do you think that J Wrestling fans, meaning Japanese wrestling fans, would embrace a WWE PLE like EC Perth? Absolutely.
In
Absolutely.
Japan,
Oh, yeah.
in Japan, yes.
Kev, we've talked about this in the past. Like, you see like the Japanese crowds of old where they're more like they were very quiet and reserved and like that respectful silence. And you see when Raw goes there and they're as loud as the American fans. I think they see that on TV and they kind of want to emulate it a little bit. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. You watch I every once in a blue moon will use someone's login to watch the New Japan shows, and it's just different energy. And I don't know and again, fandom is just very different now. It's more accessible. Like, listen, Okada was the big story a couple weeks ago, and
Who the hell is that?
exactly. I get it. He took a lot of money going, I'm still going to be really young when this dumb contract's up, so I'm going to cash out before I go become a star. But who would have thought, like just if you even just go back, let's say 8 years. Today, more fans know Japanese performers. They know their names, they know their movesets, they know them, just off of seeing them on something. And that's not something that existed that long ago, unless you were a super IWC, I don't touch the sun. I've never seen a blade of grass.
Right.
Like you just had to be a special kind of I don't want to upset some people here who are going to flame us on Twitter later. You just had to be a certain kind of fan, and it's more accessible. So like now that everybody can kind of get in on it and share the experience, you're seeing kind of a crossover in behavior. I mean, look at the WWE crowd. You're seeing people more patient with more technical matches. They're willing to slow it down, versus in the early 2000s, the boring chant, unless it was Angle and Benoit, would have shook the foundation of the building. It's a different time. So the crossover, the crossing over in behavior, I think things are more normalized. It's okay to have fun. It's okay to sit down and be patient. It's okay to again, well, listen, could you imagine the Fiend in a Japanese crowd? Looking at how they handled Bruiser Brody or even like a Leatherface. It's a cool time to be a fan, and you see like the sharing of the good behaviors, which is just very cool.
Can I ask you something though, Apollo? Like, are you excited seeing a lot more international wrestling getting this kind of hype from WWE? I mean, even bringing up Japan, but even thinking back at Puerto Rico, thinking at Germany, and obviously Clash at the Castle, supposedly they just revealed that that's going to be done in Scotland. So, I mean, with all of these and the rabid fan base really makes wrestling overall look good. It's almost more fun to watch the international shows here from the States than I think it is just to watch some of the stateside shows.
Yeah, it makes it feel special.
I agree. It's you see these crowds go to these buildings, and because they don't have access to it, their enthusiasm and their passion, it just shines through. So like, again, as you get a little older and you get more jaded as a fan, you kind of lose that a little bit, right? Like,
that's true.
So when you see, like, again, when they were at Clash of the Castle, that crowd was so fired up, you couldn't help but be pulled into their energy. And again, it's a brilliant move, right? Like the WWE understands, hey, we have the United States market on lockdown. We can't really grow it anymore. So if we're going to continue to grow, we've got to go overseas. And again, coming out of these lockdowns where these places didn't have much to do at all. They were super duper locked down. They don't get much now anyway. We can go here. We can pop a giant number and have everybody super excited for us to come back. And it reinforces that we are in fact a global brand. Because one of my favorite openings was when they would go, and over blah 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 countries, and like that was cool. Like
when they would go to all the different commentary teams one at a time.
Oh
like,
yeah,
I used to love that.
Yep. Like so, like as a fan watching, you kind of like oh, I'm a part of something that's pretty big, and again, so like for little kids, that's really cool. For people who don't watch a lot, that's really cool. Again, you pull in a friend who's a normie who doesn't watch wrestling, and they see this international crowd. You see all the different commentary teams. You hear the number of countries, that the show is playing in, or even when they show you the international crowds at Mania.
It's global. You know what everybody likes? When something big is promoted well and comes to their area.
Yes.
So when European soccer football came to the United States, it was a big deal. When AW went to Wembley, it was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
When Italian racing comes to the United States once a year, it's a big deal. So it would be a big deal. And the WWE would put the machine behind it. That they would get the local promotions ready to do it. And there's also a cynical reason. And the cynical reason, I don't know if cynical is the right word, but New Japan is the biggest promotion in Japan. Or is it? I mean, all of their stars are gone. Okada, Jay White, Ospreay, Tama Tonga, Juice Robinson. The American stars that were going over there with frequency are going over there less. Bullet Club, the Elite, even Moxley. It's like they don't
have Jack Perry
anymore. They have it here. they have it here now. So
I definitely see that point. We joined us in the middle of the conversation. I've been trying to find a break in the conversation. Our buddy Phil over from Pro Wrestle Times. Phil, how are you doing tonight, my friend?
I'm doing great, man. Just enjoying the chat. You guys keep it going. Just keep
what do you Phil, what are your opinions? Do you see that that they could go to Japan for one of these pay-per-views? And do you think it would be one of the big ones like Royal Rumble, the Survivor Series,
BLE.
or something more BLE or something more gimmicky like Money in the Bank? I think Money in the Bank would do really well in Japan.
I think what they do first is they probably do a live event akin to how they do Starrcade out of nowhere, and they just call it Starrcade, but it's a live event. I could see them doing that in Japan maybe first, just to so what UFC does, and they're merged now. TKO UFC will just send in a fight night with usually a local talent, and then it kind of breaks the market open, and then they'll go there with a big event. They did that in Australia, they did that in Paris actually recently, which the WWE is doing. So yeah, I see them going to Japan definitely for a Money in the Bank or so. I don't think the SummerSlams or WrestleManias will ever get outbid outside of America for those events. So
I could see them doing it in the UK. I could see the UK getting a WrestleMania at some point.
I love that you brought up the UFC because do you guys think now with the UFC and WWE kind of cross promoting a little bit, not directly, but now they have plans to have events on the same weekend and stuff. Do you think if the UFC goes international, WWE will follow? Do you think that might become a norm?
Yeah, I mean, that's what they're doing, right? So so the UFC just spent a shit ton of time breaking open the Australia market recently. Where did WWE just go? They just spent a shitload of time getting MMA legalized in Paris, and then they had Cyril Gane go and fight there, and then that primed him up for a fight against John Jones in America, which he fucking humiliated himself in. But the Paris fans turned out, and now WWE's going to Paris. So yeah, I see them just essentially following. Don't be surprised if we get a big WWE show in Mexico soon, because UFC's done a lot focusing in Mexico, and I'm just kind of watching them and what Endeavor has been doing with UFC prior to the merger. And I'm seeing that WWE's sort of following in their footsteps, and where the UFC will follow in WWE's footsteps is with things like the Netflix deal and things like that, because WWE's been on the forefront of pay-per-view and television deals and all that in all of sports and entertainment for years and years. So,
and I'll sort of throw this out there: isn't there an NXT pay-per-view happening at the UFC's Performance
Apex
Center?
dude? Yeah, at the Apex Center. So that's where
UFC's
been being kind of lazy, and they've been holding all of their fight nights there, and the fans are clamoring please, let's get back on the road. But just don't be surprised if you see a lot of WWE superstars as well attending their Performance Institute, because just like the WWE and the PC, long ago, UFC developed a Performance Institute, the PI, and they actually just opened one in Mexico. So I think when Triple H had that vision of NXT Japan and NXT Mexico and all of that, I think that was kind of kiboshed by Vince. And I think that is going to now open up because that's the vision Dana White has. Triple H sort of has that vision for pro wrestling. So I think now we're going to see that actually start to play out.
Yeah, I don't think it's any coincidence that Shayna Baszler's being able to work at Bloodsport, because that's sort of the hybrid between UFC
right. And if I may
wrestling.
on that, so Josh Barnett is her manager, and he's Shayna Baszler's manager, and he's also the promoter. He owns the promotion, and so, or at least the Bloodsport event is his. Actually, I'm not particularly sure.
He is. He owns Bloodsport's his promotion.
Right. And so he was just saying that he was shocked, but he's just like, WWE trusts me and and he's a guy he's a guy I would trust, definitely. He knows how to work. He's been, UFC champ, and he's got good the youngest UFC champ, I think, in history, or at least in that early era. And he has good ties with all of those people. And I wouldn't be shocked if we see more of that, especially around WrestleMania season. I think I said it on the last Tooney Talk Wrestling, but you have all of these talent who can't even wrestle on the card potentially on WrestleMania. I mean, let them go work at all these big shows that are happening around the same area,
Yeah.
All right. So, moving on to our next match here. I'm loving the conversation tonight. So Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch. Now this match I was kind of on the fence about up until yesterday, and then yesterday I lost all interest in it whatsoever because I was all for it. I personally thought Rhea Bianca was the match. Like that was the match that everybody wants to see. That's the money match. That is your female Austin versus Rock right now, I think. They went with Becky, which I get. Becky is, Becky's kind of like a sure thing usually, big merch seller, super over always. And it would be a big win for Rhea if she wins it. But then they did the worked spot on Ariel Helwani's show. And I was like, for some reason, that just really like rubbed me the wrong way. I did not like, because you just got through this super earnest, like shoot interview with CM Punk, right? And Rhea Ripley has just spoken very candidly about stuff herself. And then you go into this obviously worked program where Becky comes in and they're like separating them. And then today's like, oh, Ariel Helwani's apologizing to Rhea Ripley about, Becky coming in. And I'm like, all right, guys, like it's either a shoot or it's a work. I don't like when the line gets blurred there. What do you guys think? Paula, what do you think about this like kind of blurring of the lines here?
Well, so I am of two minds about it. I do think it's kind of cool when you do it. I just don't think they did it well. Because to be honest with you, I have no interest in this match. I am a person who thought that the money was Bianca and Rhea.
Yeah.
Bianca kind of got lost in the shuffle, while they were trying to figure out what they want to do with damage control. And Becky, we just needed something for Becky to do. I don't care about this match at all. I don't think Becky has a chance in hell if they're dumb enough to pull this belt off of Rhea, who, although Rhea has had a good reign, hasn't had a reign that is as good as it could have been. But it's kind of like an embarrassment of riches. She was super over with Dominic. Telling that story was very important. Establishing the Judgment Day and getting it to where it is and away from Edge was also very important. So I think Rhea kind of suffered in building it up. Again, it did wonders for her character, but in terms of her being a fighting champion, some things kind of got lost there. This is a match that should have been like a SummerSlam or a Royal Rumble, not necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, and one thing I want to address, I saw James Smith in the chat. He had said, blurring the lines is a good thing. That's how you make it more believable. And I typically do agree with that. And I think what I said with the blurring the lines is we know that her storming the studio is a work. I mean, like,
right. You got to do it for something that's more interesting. And
blurring the lines is a moment in a promo where you say something where you're like, oh wow, was that like kind of like shooty or like, but having somebody storm like a studio, we know that they're not doing that. Like that's not even blurring the line. So maybe I spoke a little weirdly there. This is interesting. George Caps a super chat $5 says, does Endeavor going private affect WWE in any way? I hadn't heard that Endeavor was going private.
From what I understand is TKO will remain public, but the Endeavor and everything else will be taken private. is what I read, not like an hour ago. So I haven't dug too deep into anything.
They're getting $13 billion more in valuation now. Whether that trickles down or not, I don't know. As far as the work shoot is concerned, I felt the same way as you, Marvin. I think that it was done poorly. Like if this was like Sam Roberts or Peter Rosenberg, who were sort of like inside workers, it would have made more sense. Even McAfee would have made sense. This, I think, belittled Helwani and didn't look good. Like even the Today Show.
It almost proved Tony Khan's point about Ariel Helwani, where he's like, "Oh, you're in the pocket
of Ariel though," because I watch his show every day, and here's the thing: that's happened with fighters where they've called him in the middle of their opponent interviewing, and he's gone, "Do you mind if I answer?" FaceTime, and they start talking shit. Yeah. He's done similar things. So to me, it felt authentic. But yeah, when she stormed the set, and now Helwani's had people freak out on his set and storm out and knock shit over and stuff before. He's had that happen. MMA. So, but the thing is he.
I don't follow Helwani that closely.
Like I do, right? I'm an MMA mark. So, but the thing is when she stormed the set, that was a little cheesy. I'll admit that fully. But when she called in, or he's like, "Oh, she's calling me," and keeps calling me. That's happened before, where the person he's interviewing is like, "Yes, like fucking answer it right now," and they start going and talking back and forth. So that to me felt authentic. But then, when she stormed it, I'll admit that was a little cheesy. But
I think. Let me ask you this for Russell Time.
It was a desperation move because I don't know anybody who really actually cares about this match. I could be wrong, but.
I think the match is going to surprise. I think it's going to overachieve. I think Becky has something to prove. I think she's going up. Listen, when Rhea Ripley's reign is looked back upon, I think it'll be important that in back-to-back WrestleManias, she beat Charlotte and Becky. Yes. I don't know that it feels that important right now, but I think they're going to work their asses off. I think then Becky's going to do her book tour, and it'll be fine.
I think I do want to read that book. I haven't read a wrestler autobiography hasn't come out that I've wanted to read in a long time. I think the last one was like Flash.
Oh, check out Nitro. It was very good.
Yeah, I might have to actually pick that one. Dis, what were you about to say?
So just going back to the Helwani thing, I think if I'm WWE, this was a win all the way around. But for him to do it after having CM Punk call him a real journalist for 2 hours.
Yeah.
But I get why WWE did it. Absolutely. WWE should do that. If CNN would let them do that, they should do that on CNN.
Punk was working too, though. He wasn't shooting fully that whole interview. You could, when he's talking about the WWE stuff, he's like, it came together in a few days. That is not true. They were selling his shit in the UK before, like a month before he came back. You can look that shit up.
Really?
Dude, yes. They had like his merch on sale in the UK like a month before he came back or whatever. Like he knew all that because all of a sudden his memory's shaky. I don't really, the deal, I just remember certain thing kind of comes together. And then he remembers every detail of the AEW shit. That's just, it's him, obviously, like he works for WWE now. So he's right. So to me, and I'm not saying they were like participating in this work, shoot, whatever, but it was like, they're all wrestlers, bro. It's always half a work. You have to assume that,
Yeah,
100% of the time they're working 60% of
the old merchandise that they put on sale. It wasn't new merchandise that they had in the UK.
It was old merchandise
stuff from the 2011 Money in the Bank.
Right, but why were they selling it?
Because they're getting rid of everything. I mean, WWE constantly does that, where they just start doing these blitz sales.
Right.
I mean, when Liv Morgan came back, they had a thing where if you bought anything from Liv Morgan's merchandise, you immediately got like 500 WWE points, which pretty much equals here, get an actual t-shirt.
I mean, look at it like that. CM Punk was the top merchandise seller in AEW at that point. If WWE wanted to unload some merchandise, wouldn't it make sense to do it at that point?
Right.
That is a good point.
What you're saying, that it could have been, in play before then, because you're right. It is weird that he's a little shaky on something that happened a couple months ago. Yeah. But with crystal accuracy, he could tell you every damn thing that happened in AEW. That's fair. That is a fair assessment. But at the same time, I don't necessarily look at the t-shirts as the smoking gun. I think that there were other things at play that come down to legal that he just can't talk about, because he was very clear about, look, Ariel, I can't talk about the NDAs. And he kind of bounced around it. And even Ariel gave him the platform and said, hey, if I'm crossing the line, just tell me to shut the fuck up. And Punk is like, okay, no worries. So I think it was a lot more candid than a lot of people think that the interview was. But I had a totally separate question that had to do with something you were talking about earlier, which I'm very interested in, considering that you are a MMA guy, Phil. Who's more jaded when it comes to the fandom? Is it the MMA people or is it the WWE or wrestling people?
Oh man, I think it's got to be the wrestling people, because the MMA people still have to exist in some form of reality. They're not to like shit on our own, but just keeping it real. But here's one thing though that's funny, and I'll note this in MMA people. When Meltzer gets brought up, he's considered a reputable, verifiable source. He's considered, and then when he gets brought up in the wrestling world, everyone's like, he's a fucking stooge. So that's funny. That's a big contrast.
That's interesting. Oh, in the MMA world, they actually
it's because he has
like a
good
real
plugs
journalist
with ticket sales and pay-per-view numbers, and that he does legitimately to this day. But that's what's so funny, and that's what's like the underlying thing when he's always, I don't want to say shilling for whatever, but and he can't bring that shit up with AEW because then it makes them look bad. But that's where he has the most validity, and when he speaks is when it comes to like pay-per-view numbers and Nielsen rating and ticket sales. But that shit, so now it's just him like making stuff up, because otherwise it kind of harms like the narrative he's been pushing or whatever. But yeah, in MMA, people consider Ariel kind of a weasel in MMA, which is funny because in WWE we're like, or in pro wrestling we're like, Ariel's so legit.
That's interesting.
And yeah, it's a weird contrast.
I mean, look at it like this. Dave has always been good with facts. If you want to know what happened on one day 20 years ago, The Observer is the place to go. That's, he's terrible with rumors, but he's good with facts. So the idea that he would be respected in a shoot sport, makes sense.
And maybe he doesn't report on news. He only has tickets and pay-per-views, and that's what they really care about because it's a shoot. You can't just like, I don't know. You can always work in pro wrestling. You can work the house numbers. You can work the, there's just no bullshit in MMA. It seems more, Yeah.
Well, wasn't CM Punk's entire interview basically an homage and a love story to working in the business? So, of course, he was working during part of the business, during part of the interview. It wasn't entirely. He talked about he didn't want to pull back the curtain too much. He thought that the curtain had been pulled back too much already, over the years. So, yeah, I think that he was doing some work, and I think he was mostly earnest. Now, he has his truth, and I think that probably 70 to 85% of his truth is probably the truth, and probably 10 or 15% is close, but isn't exactly. But that's good for anybody. But I mean, he basically told you that he wasn't going to tell you everything because he told you that ruins our business. That we sell tickets with the mystery, so he's not going to give away all the mystery. So yeah, but I actually really enjoyed his interview, and this comes from. I'm not really a CM Punk. I really never have been. But I liked the interview. I found him really strangely compelling to listen to.
I felt the same way, and we were still technically in the middle of a WrestleMania, card rundown, but I mean we've diverted here, so we might as well.
I derailed it. I'm sorry.
we might as well dig in. I felt that he came off, and I've always been extremely hot on CM Punk. From going back to like the ROH days. I felt that he presented himself. I don't know. I felt like he was being very earnest and honest and open. And here's the thing. Yes, he said a lot, but the thing was he was actually answering the questions. And now, look, could he have been lying? Absolutely, he could have been lying. I have no idea if he's telling the truth or not. His is the only side of the story we've got. And that's the thing that I think a lot of people are hopping on. Like, oh, well, Tony's got a side of this story too. Like, yes, well, Tony had an opportunity to tell that side of the story when he was interviewed by the same person on the same show and asked the same questions. And he chose to say, I can't talk about that, or I won't talk about that. And Punk did not, and here's the thing. You're dealing with CM Punk. You understand the animal that you've got here. You know that eventually somebody is going to ask him a question and he's going to answer it. Why wouldn't you want to get in front of that?
Yeah.
Tell me when you're telling lies.
Mm-hmm.
Punk, for the first time. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, I just wanted to get that line in.
Yeah, no, go ahead. You got it.
No, this was okay. And this isn't a lot. This is the first time I've ever heard a CM Punk interview where he sounded very respectful and loving of the business.
Yes.
That's it.
I agree.
Yes. I think, again, especially when you look at how he has been over the last 10 years. I mean, even looking at his own his own Blu-ray. He just sounded miserable.
I was just going to say that, Kev. That documentary that because he was in charge of putting it together. It's abysmal, and I was like, I can't believe that he's this miserable of a human being. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But can I let you guys in on something though? Most Chicago people, as a Chicagoan,
it's Chicago.
My entire life, we all sound pretty miserable. Let me just tell you.
So
as a St. Louisan, I can say that is true, 100%.
But he came off as earnest. He came off relatively humble. And he was endearing. It was a different take on how he normally presents himself, and the fact that he didn't shy away from any of the questions, and he answered as honestly as he could. That was the important part, right? As a character, he answered both as a character and as a man, and he put it out there. He left it up for you to interpret whether you want to say, well, oh, this is a work or it's a shoot. He did that intentionally, but he put the information out there. And depending on your level of smart marky, you can dive in and chew on the minutia if you wanted to. But the fact of the matter is, he looked at it, he dove in head first, punched through the whole thing, was calm, and kind of seemed at peace. And I don't think that's a CM Punk that we've ever seen.
My co-host on Thursdays, Joe Numbers, said it best.
Mm-hmm.
The guy sounded like he matured.
He
genuinely
did.
Matured.
He grew up. Yeah.
And you know what? I think, the one thing that he was saying that I think needs to be kind of pointed out here. He said, if you are okay with, some idiot giving you 5 stars in a quarter empty building, in a building that's only a quarter full, we're in different businesses. And I don't think that there's, I think it's all a matter of perspective, right? I think that it's perfectly valid for your career goals to be 5-star matches and not caring about things like the gate or the house or whatever, or the ratings. It's just a different perspective. And he has a very different, he is looking at, it's like when everybody's always like, well, Will Ospreay's the best wrestler in the world. And Kevin Nash goes, all right, how were his merch sales?
Right.
It's two very different perspectives on it.
Well,
and I think both are valid in a way. Like if that's what you want out of wrestling, then fine. There's a place for you now. Like AEW is the place for you. But it is not a place for a guy like Punk, who is, I'm here to draw big houses. I'm here to make big money. I'm here, I think a lot of people took his shoot on Guaranteed Money as, God, what am I trying to say? He doesn't want the boys to make money. He doesn't want, no, he thinks that there needs to be, stakes in it for you. Like you need to be able to perform at a high level and draw crowds. And that's the business. And I was, Kev, what do you think about that as somebody who has to draw crowds?
You can be a physically gifted athlete and do everything, and it looks like, it looks like butter, only better. But if no one, it's the ROH problem, right? It's the ROH problem. ROH was if a tree falls in the woods and no one's there to see, it doesn't make a noise equivalent. If you're not drawing people, if no one cares that you can do this beautiful thing, you're not the best. There is a reason why, although Ric Flair is a cultural phenomenon now, there is a reason why when you look at why Hulk Hogan is the standard bearer from the mid 80s to the late 90s. Hogan was the most dynamic. He was the most entertaining. He was a brilliant storyteller. Ric Flair, technical genius, can make anybody look good, right? Convince Vince that Lex Luger was the greatest thing going. And I'm a giant Lex Luger mark. I love Lex Luger. But at that point in time, Lex Luger was not the man, wasn't even remotely close to it. Yeah. So the meat and potatoes of it, and I'm going to break a lot of indie wrestler hearts right now. The meat and potatoes of it is, in terms of wrestling ability, you just need to be serviceable. Because the Baron Mordo, the Baron Mordo statement at the end of the first Doctor Strange, there are too many wrestlers. No one gives an S about wrestlers.
Yeah,
they want to be entertained. If we had more workers, indie shows would do better than drawing 20 neckbeards who haven't showered to the crowd. You would have families in there. That is why the WWE, no matter how bad an economy is, the WWE thrives because it's entertainment. They appeal to everybody. AEW is on a downward.
AEW is only for rich people, is what I understood.
And intelligent, superhumans.
Well, let's break it down. You're a brand new company. When you're looking at a company's lifespan, they're only 6 years in. They should be experiencing phenomenal growth. And at the 4-year mark, and you can try to blame the pandemic, but again, to WWE's credit, they found a way to thrive. They found a way to thrive and make it work. Impact found a way to thrive and make it work. AEW coming out of the pandemic when people were eager for something to do, their numbers contracted, their ratings contracted, their live attendance contracted because they chose to triple down on something that didn't appeal to the masses.
Yep.
If you could look at who's a good Dennis Miller, right? Dennis Miller is a phenomenal social commentator. His comedy isn't for everybody, but if you really love Dennis Miller, you're gonna go drop the money. The versus, let's say, like I don't know if we're even allowed to talk about him, but like a Louis C.K. Louis C.K. is just what was just genuinely funny. He happened to do a lot of social commentary, but he was genuinely funny first. It was more exciting to go see him. I guess maybe a better Chappelle. Chappelle is just genuinely funny. He strikes a nerve. He evokes emotion, and when he goes to touch on something that's topical, it's that much more engaging. And with wrestling, it has to be engaging. Listen, at the end of the day, aside from Vince going out and telling everybody what he told everybody, the New York the New York Times stopped covering wrestling in 1938 because they knew it wasn't real. People have known this isn't real since the late 30s, so it's not a big secret. People love it because it's engaging, because it evokes emotion. It's escapist. If you can't give me that, who gives an S? Who cares?
Right.
Who cares?
This is why I bring this guy on the show. He knows what he's talking about.
It's weird. He's completely right. I mean, if it wasn't about the storylines, if it wasn't about the intricacies, if it wasn't about connecting to the fans, you may as well just watch amateur wrestling or Olympic wrestling.
It's weird that you mentioned that because, like, I remember when I found out wrestling wasn't real. I was at Busch Stadium and it was Hulk Hogan versus Sergeant Slaughter, and Hogan was down and he was getting pinned, and I saw his eyes open and look over the ref and said, "Is it time?" And I knew wrestling wasn't real. They played it on the big screen. They played it. It was the first time I saw wrestling on the big screen. But you know what? It made me more interested in wrestling. It made me think, wow, wait, they get all of this right and it's not even real? Like, this is amazing. And my mind went crazy with the possibilities of wrestling and what it could be. And I think that's the key to it. And
clearly you haven't left the hospital bed since.
Yeah, I did for a minute earlier, but then the storm started and my internet got hurt, so I had to go back in the hospital. But no, but if that's what a lot of people don't understand, and I think that's what AEW doesn't hit on so much. If you can take advantage of the fact that you aren't real, then the sky's the limit. You know.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, I guess I kind of got to take the perspective of defending AEW just a little bit. Those fans that they cater to, they are engaged with the product, and it is for them. It's just they're not as many of them as I think maybe Tony thought in the beginning.
There's a ceiling
there, right? Yes, there is a ceiling, and I believe they may have reached it. As more like preteens become teenagers and like later teenagers, you're going to get more people that want that kind of wrestling because like you see the glitz and you see the the million flips, and you don't think about it in terms of like as cerebral as like some older people do. And I think that's that's maybe when you'll see a little bit of an upturn in AEW, maybe as the audience ages. I don't know.
I don't know, because here's the thing:
as the younger people age into the older teenagers and the young 20s, your late 20s age into their 30s and 40s, and either outgrow that or outgrow wrestling like normal people do. Period.
Or you start having kids.
That's a balance. I think it's.
Or you start having kids, and I promise you, kids are not interested in AEW.
Absolutely. Listen, I tell the quick story. So this is like 2 years ago. Maybe a little bit longer. I had on an NXT UK premium live event.
Yeah,
premium. It was like Bull Mastiff against another one of the Giants, and they're fighting. They're outside of the ring. They're beating the crap out of each other in the arena. And my daughter's running. They're playing with one of their friends. I think at the time, my oldest, I think she was 9. They come in and they see these big animals kicking the crap out of each other. They don't know anybody's name. They stop and they just watch. They watch the whole match. They start hooting and hollering. They don't care who the good guy or the bad guy is. Then they run back outside. I put an AEW on. The same group walks back in, and my daughter goes, "Does that little boy's parents know he's getting beaten up on TV?"
Oh, no.
That's Sammy. So kids can sit, or even just recently, I tried watching Dynamite with my just because they kind of like it now. And they're like, "Why do you have this on? This feels fake."
Mm-hmm.
And my kids know the difference. Like, it's presentation is everything. And again, the WWE figured this out a long time ago. It took them a little bit, but they'll never make the mistake again, right? They realized those Hogan kids grew up and were putting on Nitro, and then when the war was over, he was like, "Well, these Austin teens are now in their 20s, so let's give them HLA." Oh wait, hold on. These 20-somethings are now dating. They're watching with their girlfriends. They're having kids. We got to tone it down. At the same time, Vince was also paying attention to demographics. He realized for a short amount of time, there were more girls being born than boys. Oh, wait. It's not going to be fathers and sons going. It's going to be fathers and daughters going. Then they took that and said, okay, hey, on top of this, we're actually realizing that the product is more family-centric. It's moms bringing the kids, and moms travel in packs. So we're not selling 2 tickets. We're selling 6 to 8 tickets.
And moms in packs are terrifying.
Yes.
That's it. Yep, that's it. But they're going to buy shirts. They're going to buy food. And you give them everything they want, and they're happy. And then on top of that, now that the Cena kids are late 20s, early 20s, or rather late teens, early 20s, hey, we can occasionally spice it up a little bit to keep them engaged because we've trained them. We've trained them, and they're going to pass it on. They know old guys like me, guys in their 40s, aren't going anywhere. We're going to watch it. And now that I have kids, I'm passing it down to my kids. They know that grandmas, because grandma's going all the way back to when the stuff was first on TV. I don't know what it is about wrestling. Old ladies love wrestling.
That is true.
They know they've got their senior. WWE has figured out from your seniors to your toddlers, they have them on lockdown. I think a lot of it is about providing a universally entertaining program. Again, we're gonna go. Jade, Jade's biggest strength was telling Tony to cut the shit. That got old. What? 3 weeks into her doing it?
Yes.
Yeah. No, it's still not old.
And I don't. But it's also a show that I don't have to worry about turning off before the main event happens. I don't have to worry about if Tony Storm is going to talk about putting her chest out. It's like it's little things like that. When I first started trying to get my son into wrestling, I was only watching AEW, and he was only interested when the dinosaur was on, and that was it. And but but there was a lot of blood. There was a lot of stuff that it's not only that I just didn't want him to see because I'm loose about that, but it's stuff that he isn't ready for. It's stuff that he couldn't handle at the time. And when you have a show that you have to, okay, you can't watch this part, you can watch this part. It's just never going to be good for parents and kids unless you're that kind of parent. Right. But WWE, I can leave the room and let him watch WWE, and I know that there's not going to be a problem because he can hear curse words. That's not a big deal, and there's nothing that's going to make him feel weird or uncomfortable or bore him. Except Johnny Gargano. But actually, he loves Johnny Gargano. To be fair, he loves Johnny Gargano. So
he's the one.
He really liked. Well,
He's the one. Yes,
He liked them once they put him with R-Truth in it.
Right.
So
OC Steve, by the way, chatted in with super chat. Boys want 5-star matches. Men want a big gate. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I think it's also a lot of the AEW guys are very young. You know, they're probably not thinking about settling down, having a family. Guys like Kevin Owens and AJ Styles want that big gate. They want to make money. They want to provide for their children. They want to make sure their children's children are provided for. And I think that that's a good distinction to make there, is you got to look at the ages of the rosters a little bit more. Daniel Flores says, I don't give 5 stars all the time. This show is getting 10 stars. Wow. Thank you guys very much. That's really nice to hear. Eastside Reviews, $5 says WWE sells water, something everyone can consume. Tony Khan and AEW tried to sell wine to a niche audience. I think that's a really good way of putting it, because it is a niche audience. And I wonder that if AEW ever does any kind of like demographic studies, like who is it that's consuming our show, or is Tony just like, I'm marketing this to me?
Yeah, Rich Geniuses, bro. Didn't you hear Dave Meltzer?
Well, yeah, of course, Rich Geniuses. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he has Dave tell him. That's his demographic.
Well, we can have Dave on the show, right? I mean, you have him on retainer, don't you?
Oh yeah, of course. We just boot up the sock, but the demographics are it doesn't sound the same without me lowering my tone of my voice. But yeah, I think, you know, circling back into this this Punk interview that we were kind of talking about is what do you guys, now the Jack Perry situation, I was shocked when he started talking about it, but what it sounded like, the first thing that hit me where I was like, whoa, alarm bells going off here, was when he was like, Tony Schiavone came up to me and said Jack was cursing him out. And I was like, he was cursing out Tony Schiavone?
Right.
Like, that's what did it for me. I absolutely, like, if everything else was made up, if Tony Schiavone goes, yeah, he cursed me out one time, flip Jack Perry. That's what.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
And there was somebody else a couple months ago that came out with the exact same story, and I don't remember who it was off the top of my head. But the fact that someone else came out with the exact same story that wasn't connected to Punk, and then Punk came out with that story, it makes sense, and it sounds right too, right? Like, I mean, that sounds like Jack Perry, especially after what Bully said today.
I the exact same story, pretty much word for word, several times now, and it hasn't been from Punk. So, I mean, you know, some guy was making a big deal about how he wasn't emphasizing the glass so much this story. Who cares? He still mentioned it. I mean, you know, you're not going to say that he's not rehearsing the darn thing. But
you know what? At the end of the day, Dose, when you're talking about what Punk said about, like, you know, when he went up to him to talk about it, it's like, look, you want to break the window of a rental car. Like that is our means of conveyance as wrestlers. Like, you know, like you're going to make it so that the point where they're going to be like, don't rent cars to pro wrestlers.
Yeah. And Punk's like, that's happened before, you know?
Yeah. And that's going to affect not just AEW. It's going to affect WWE. It's going to affect the indies. It's going to affect TNA. It's going to affect everybody. And so I think that was very forward thinking. And here's the thing. Look at Jack Perry is the son of a Hollywood celebrity. Okay. He is probably not used to being told no very much.
No, he's a Nepo baby. He's entitled. He's had everything given to him from birth. And now that he's in the real world with other wrestlers, independent contractors, if you will, instead of playing nicey, he expects everyone to kiss his ass.
Yes. And Bully Ray today, I want to read his quote. He said, "This is not a Punk problem. This is a Jack Perry problem. This is a snot-nosed kid problem. This is a punk-ass kid problem." And I believe every single last word that Punk is saying about Jack Perry, because I had my own incident with Jack Perry in England a year ago. And there wasn't really an incident, because if there was an incident, Jack Perry wouldn't be around anymore.
But does it surprise you, Marvin?
Wow.
Dude, he hangs out with the Young Bucks, and the Young Bucks had the same problems with Booker T. They had the same problems with RVD. I mean, these two guys are heavily respected in the industry.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're the younger talent and you're disrespecting guys who have been around for decades, like RVD and Booker T, it's like, what are you doing? And they put it in their own book, almost mocking the fact that they had heat with RVD and Booker T. And it's like, you guys are just, you don't get it. And it doesn't surprise me that a guy like Jumpin' Jungle Jack Perry is hanging out with the Young Bucks and has a similar attitude as them.
He's a PWG guy. That's all.
Yep. It's your, who you choose as your friends will either elevate you or pull you down in the dirt. And frankly, he chose poorly. Oh, I think I lost you guys.
No, you're there. You're there,
you.
Apollo. We can hear you. You're just frozen on your camera.
He chose poorly, and you see it. He's got a crap attitude. These stories keep popping up. It's again, like Bully said today, it is a Jack Perry problem. And what Tony's going to choose to do about it is on Tony. But from what we've seen, it's probably going to be a lot of nothing because he's too busy wanting to be everybody's friend instead of being a boss. And this is a problem that gets corrected by putting someone in the room and saying, cut the shit.
Right.
If I may, it seemed to me that every issue that that Punk has in AEW, it all goes the exact same way. Somebody does something. CM Punk then turns to Tony Khan and says, you need to handle this because if you don't handle it, you're not going to like the way I handle it. And then Tony doesn't handle it, and then Punk handles it.
Yep.
And Tony doesn't like the way Punk handles it. It's at the end of the day, that's what happened. And
what is the outcome there? Like Jack Perry, it was either Punk was basically telling him like, hey, handle this, like maybe send this idiot home. He's messing things up. What's the outcome? Now Jack's just not there and Punk's not there. He could have just appeased Punk and then had Punk still, but instead, to me, it's mind boggling.
Well, and when Punk said, when Jack went out there and he was like, the real glass, cry me a river. And, he turned to Tony and he said, do something about this. And Tony said, what do you want me to do? And I was like, that's the problem right there.
Yeah, send him
home. He's gone anyways right now. So what did Tony gain from all this? Just a slap in the, we're friends. Everything's great, huh? We're so safe. I'm not scared, I promise, anymore.
He lost his biggest star in one night.
Instead of doing
this kind of for me leads to something that I think is interesting. Do we know how much power the Elite has there? Like, I know that, I know that like he's in charge day to day, but like, can they overrule him on stuff? Is it possible?
I don't believe so. No. I believe that they once had more power than they do now. I remember hearing that like he had like taken a lot of that power away. But the buck has to stop there. That's where like he is the ultimate authority there, and unfortunately he's not exerting that authority. And I understand like you've idolized these people your entire life. Now they're around you, and they're brothering you, and they're like pouring like Kevin Nash pouring the wine for Dixie Carter. Like they're in your face now. They're in now your social group, and you don't want to make them mad. And I almost understand it, but at the same time, you have to be a boss. You have to be a businessman. This is your business, your livelihood. And yes, he doesn't need AEW to make money to still be a fabulously wealthy man. But I mean, it would hurt their chances of getting a better media deal if they would actually,
Marvin, but you're overlooking the fact that this is a guy who's in charge of 2 other football clubs. If anybody should have a good handle of how to run a business, it would be the guy with 2 other major responsibilities in his bank.
You're right, but you know what?
For those things.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No, he's
how much as
technical officer of the Jaguars or something?
Yeah,
like
as the owner of the company or as the owner of the team, how much do you think he has to deal with like 2 players on the field that like get into a spat? The manager deals with that.
I think he literally does Awful's job. What Awful does for the show, I think he does that for Jaguars. Excuse me. So yeah,
pretty much. Kev, have we lost you? Are you like frozen and like not around anymore, or?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. You might want to turn your camera on and off again, maybe. I don't know, but we can hear you. We just can't you're just frozen in the.
I've got of doom, so I didn't want to log out just in case I couldn't get back in. But
well, if you log out, you can just come back in with the link that I gave you. So
all right,
so you got to do that.
I'll be back in a second.
Okay.
Just doing the Drax the Destroyer staying still so you can't see him thing.
Yes. Repeat GP $10. Thank you so much. Says I have no worthwhile questions at the moment. Wimmy wham wham wazzle.
I agree.
Yeah. Joseph J. Alexander says a lot of AEW workers have that indie mentality of wanting to just pop the crowd that's in front of them, not the home audience they can't see. You know what? To me, that's you're chasing dopamine at that point. Like you're chasing that dopamine reaction from the live crowd. There's got to be nothing like it to like do something and have 5,000 people suddenly like erupt for you. That's like a high that you chase. And look, wrestlers today, they're not doing as many drugs as the wrestlers of old used to do. No. So they're probably like they're chasing that dopamine, and that's a real honest to goodness thing that you can get hooked on.
Sure, but LA Knight gets it by having people say yeah after he says yeah. But I have a question: is you pointed out correctly? Someone did that. There's people who want 5-star matches, or want like kids want 5-star matches, adults want big gay. How does that explain Chuck Taylor?
No one can explain Chuck Taylor.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. John JID 999 says, I love the explanation of rental car companies no longer renting to wrestlers. Shivani getting cussed out by Jack Perry. Who in the hell is he?
Exactly.
Exactly. I mean, look, a guy like that's been in the business for God, how long? How long? When did Shivani get in the 80s, the 70s? I mean, like he was, back in the territory.
He's the most likable guy in the world.
He seems like such a nice man. Like he really seems like a very nice man. I don't understand how you can curse in his face. Or look, at any point in any job you're in, you should never treat people like that at any point.
Right.
But it's a matter of I think Awful's trying to get in, but hold on one second.
Especially when it's passive aggressive, you're being aggressive to the people that you want to get someone else's attention.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but, I agree.
I just draw the line with Shivani. To me, it's like, dude, you're gonna cuss him out, and then also Punk said other people too. So who's that? Jerry Lynn and possibly other people, right? So, like producers and they're talking about. So who, like Pat Buck? Like who else is back there? I'm just trying to think. Like who's he cussing out? It's all people that he has no business cussing out. Period. Jack Perry, you never drawn a dollar. Go screw.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead. Dose, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh wait, real quick before Awful is waiting in the green room. Awful, check the private chat real quick. Just respond to me there real quick before I bring you in. Dose, you were saying.
No, I've lost whatever my thought might have been.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, furthermore in this, so then Punk's talking about getting injured, and he's saying he's injured and he's not hearing anything from anybody. He has to book his own surgery. He's got to book his own PT. And Apollo, welcome back. We can see you, my friend. There you are.
All right.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
We can hear you too. So yeah, he is. He's got to book all of his own medical expenses. Nobody from the company's reaching out to him. Now, a lot of people saw this as a little hypocritical because he at one time, he railed against WWE's medical staff, and now he's like praising them while talking. But maybe he saw what the grass looked like on the other side.
It's different people though too. It's not even the same medical staff that was around back in 2011. So
that's true. That's true. That what is it? The ship of Damocles, where like you change every part of the ship? Is it still the same ship? Yeah, that's very true. So then we're talking about that, and we're talking about I'm trying to think of like the next thing that he went on to after that. So the Jack Perry incident happens. Now, what I thought was very interesting is he doesn't.
Can we not leave that so quickly? Because I mean, all of what he's talking about there's no logistics infrastructure. From the very fact that if you want to damage a car, you don't rent a car. You buy a junker from a used car dealer for $500 and you have them tow it over, and then you do whatever you want with the car. I mean, everybody knows that. That's why the cars look like junkers. They have no visa control. They constantly have wrestlers who are having visa issues. Forget about the CMLL thing. That maybe that's on somebody else, but they're constantly having. Even Kenny Omega had a visa problem from the love of Japanese little girl wrestling.
Which don't you think that's weird coming from a guy who spent an estimated $100,000 for a bunch of sparklers over Eddie Kingston and Moxley?
Yes.
Hey, buddy, they don't like Canadians, guy.
For Punk, we've heard it before. Rusev said, or Miro said, no one talked to him about it. That he was injured. That I just got surgery. You dummy. You didn't even know you paid for. I mean, we've heard this. The Japanese women and Takeshita said nobody got me at the airport. Nobody helped me find housing or even show me around the town. I mean, and this is 6 years in. They have no infrastructure. They keep hiring people, and nobody knows what those people are supposed to. Everyone's like, "Oh, now the stories are going to be better." Now, I've seen some production changes on the television product, so somebody's doing something different. But they've hired like 17 people, and I have no idea what any of them are doing. And I suspect that they're all doing. Listen, this is a terrible example, but everyone knew that Janelle Grant was doing nothing at the office. I feel like everyone is doing nothing there, and like. And so they canned one of the Massey's wives, one of the Bucks' wives, and Amanda Huber got replaced. Somebody.
What happened to Maga? Is Maga still there?
No, she's gone.
She's back with Jacksonville. They have a guy named Chris Peck now. So the disciplinary committee is headed by Brian Danielson. What? No,
Whoa.
hire people.
He's stepping on the gimmick.
I will accept. I'll write the check. I've just been fined $5,000, and you know what? I've just been fined enough $500 for assessing my. Oh shit! This is getting like a house of mirrors. There's no infrastructure, there's no logistics, and it's inexcusable at this amount of time with the amount of resources that this guy has poured into nothingness, into I mean the 10 wrestlers and staff that he let go. I'm not going to criticize someone for finally trying to run it a little bit like a business, but that's not even trimming the hedges. That's like you trim 2 leaves on the hedges. And you know, he could do 60 more and hire 3 people for logistics.
They have 200 people on roster.
Right.
Before the 10 firings, they had 200 people on roster for what?
And how many people do you think? How much appearance talent? How many people do you think are hidden under the Ring of Honor banner that doesn't show on the AEW roster? I guarantee you, there's 75 to 100 people on Ring of Honor contracts, and nobody talks about that.
Well, and he tries to skirt through with it's a pay by appearance contract. So yeah, sure, fine. You may sign your contract and it's you're making 6 figures, but that's under the auspice of you're appearing regularly. And how many of the actual main players actually pop up on Dynamite on a regular enough basis? Like if there was a point in time where I think we didn't see Samoa Joe for like 2 freaking months. The guy was the most compelling character on TV. He's gone.
Dose watches every episode of
Me too.
AEW. Okay. I had to explain to him that Slim J changed his gimmick. Today, how bad is that? How it's ridiculous that honestly, I watch bits and pieces of AEW because it kind of stresses me out sometimes, and I just kind of stay away from it. But I only knew that because someone else said it and I looked it up. But yeah, that's a terrible business move there. If you have somebody on your roster that you change their gimmick and it's been that way for over a year and no one knows.
Right. I know like how Slim J, but isn't he in the Ari Daivari group? Which Ari Daivari doesn't do anything, but like the Ari Daivari group has changed about 23 times. I thought, and we all know that whole group was supposed to be an avatar for like Ari Daivari was supposed to be the rich trust fund wrestler, so he was Tony. They had Parker Boudreaux, who was like the prototypical WWE guy, supposed to be Brock Lesnar, and like they had a bunch of other guys in there who you could just tell they were all cognates for like other wrestlers, and it was just silly because the whole thing was an inside joke. But I mean, you're right. I'm sure whatever his character change was on Ring of Honor. I do not watch Ring of Honor. I watched the first 3 episodes. I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to watch the pay-per-view. I don't care that you have a link where I don't have to pay for it. This isn't Ring of Honor. I don't care. I'm not interested.
Yeah, I mean so we're looking at ahead in the Punk interview. The thing that I found very interesting, he did not get fired for cause. He quit. When he said he came back, before he went out, he said, "This place is a joke. You're a clown. I quit." That was
that's not the first time I've heard that. That's not the first time I've heard that either.
But then he said that's the last time he spoke to Tony, meaning that when Tony quote unquote fired him, who called him? Did he find that on Twitter? Like what happened here? He was, clearly he didn't. And, this is the thing also, like, it's funny because his WWE exit kind of has the same thing. He walked out of WWE, like he quit WWE, but then he's like, they fired me on my wedding day. And I'm like, no, they didn't fire you. They granted you your release. And that's exactly what happened with Tony here. You quit and he granted you your release. And then Tony tried to puff himself up by being like, I fired him.
They did it backwards too, didn't they? They did it the opposite way because I didn't even think about that. WWE said that he quit and then granted him his release. Tony actually, after CM Punk actually quit, fired him on TV.
Yes.
But in all fairness to everybody, this is only unusual in professional wrestling or in professional wrestling that you've heard of, because it probably happens all the time. In the real world, there's plenty of people say, you can't fire me, I quit. It's too bad, I just fired you. No, I quit. No, I just fired you. And then it only changes when you either think you have a suit or you realize you got denied by unemployment because you quit. No, I didn't. I was fired.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The Colin Taylor says, my father was named Charles Chuck Taylor. If he knew that such a milquetoast albino stole his name, he'd be rolling over in the ditch where we tossed him.
Bring him on the panel just for that. Bring him on the
that
panel.
was a quality super chat. That was
you know what? I owe him money. Bring the Admiral on.
Yeah. Kenneth Douglas, $5. Thank you so much. Says Tony Khan saying, what do you want me to do regarding the Perry situation? Doesn't surprise me. To me, Tony sounds like a people pleaser. And I believe that. I believe that he's a people pleaser. I believe that Tony, and here's the thing, I give Tony Khan a lot of crap, obviously. Like it's, kind of what I'm known for. But I believe he's probably a very nice man. And the one thing that everyone always says, he's a very nice, like from Jim Cornette to Cody Rhodes to CM Punk, they've all said he's a very nice man.
Now,
we all know the saying, nice guys finish last.
Yeah,
awful. Hey,
since you brought that up, the quote that everyone is sharing, and they're quoting it incorrectly, is the part where CM Punk,
up about
hold on, guys, hold on. This is talking.
Where CM Punk in the interview says he gets asked if he's a good boss, and he said he's not a good boss, and then he goes, he's a good guy. Yeah, he didn't say he's not a good boss because he's a good guy. And everyone is saying that that's what he said. And that's not what he said. He was qualifying it by saying, but he is a good guy. Like he was giving him a compliment at the end.
He also said that like, wasn't the second part of that quote something like, it was like, he's a nice guy, which might be why, he's not as good of a boss because he doesn't.
I think he said it might have something to do with it. He didn't, he didn't
think of it like this. Wasn't Tony Khan the guy running around hugging all the wrestlers he signed uncomfortably?
Yes.
You've never seen Vince McMahon do that. You've never seen Paul Heyman do that. You've never seen Eric Bischoff do that, Cornette, etc. I've never seen promoters run around hugging their talent on TV or on camera.
Apollo does.
Yeah, right? Apollo. Yeah, Apollo. Do you hug your wrestlers?
I do. I do, but that's only because they always tell me I'm the biggest promoter they've ever seen. So I just need to remind them not to piss me off. Let's compare Tony to Dixie, right? Like TNA, for whatever reason, never enjoyed the goodwill that AEW has got.
That's a good
point. Even when TNA did a lot of things right. TNA did a lot of things right. So let's compare Tony to Dixie. Everybody says Dixie was one of the sweetest people you could ever work for. Now, Tony, you've got the Jack Perry incident, but let's talk about the Austin Aries incident. This is Tony versus Dixie, right? I think it was Christy Hemme announces the wrong team, right? I think it was Bobby Roode, Austin Aries come down to the ring. They lose their minds because she announced the wrong team. Aries forces Hemme into the corner, climbs up on the middle rope, so his junk is in her face. We all know what he's doing. Visually, it's uncomfortable. What happens before that match is done? Aries is suspended, has a massive fine, got his ass chewed out. If this was Tony, you can't be sure that would happen. So niceness isn't an excuse. You're either a boss or you're a pushover.
Well, look at the Sammy Guevara response. All they did was they slapped a supposed fine on him and they took him off of TV for a minute, and then he came back like there was nothing wrong. I don't know. Yeah. I think the punishment should fit the crime in a lot of ways, and especially in the wrestling industry, especially when people are being put on TV. And essentially, you put a guy out there who sent a very horrible message to the public, and instead of really getting admonished, he got a vacation? I mean, Tony's soft. Tony's a very soft person.
Look at how we sold out Max Caster.
Right?
I approve everything. Look, Max Caster puts in a rap, doesn't go over well, right? Mm-hmm. Tony bowed to the cancel pigs, served Max up, served them up like he was a side of fries in McDonald's effing drive-through window, and then punished the guy for doing his job and having Tony sign off on the rap.
Yes.
Like what is that? What is that? That's not how you do business.
Well, look at it like this. What do you think Vince would have done?
Absolutely. Yeah. Right? Like Vince would have doubled that. Well, actually, Vince would have said, I was the one who approved it. What are you going to do about it? And we would have just kept moving on. Right? Because he didn't give a crap about what the cancel pigs were going to say. Or they would have turned it into something. And the very next week, Max would have rapped about how he got in trouble the week before for saying something.
Yeah.
Instead of being thrown to the wolves. right? It's you're either in this to be a boss and make money, or you're in it to be you're in it to be a money mark, and you're dropping a bunch of money so you can cozy up to the boys and say, "Look, I'm friends with wrestlers. I'm hugging everybody, and my voice gets really high."
We have a little breaking news here, by the way. The show is now called 1 week because we have more people in the chat than Eric Bischoff. So right now we're at 1 week. So next week, if we do the same, it's 2 weeks. We're going to just keep changing the show.
We have to just keep beating Eric Bischoff. We are now feuding with Eric Bischoff.
That's right.
That's a good war. That's a good feud.
I believe. I believe Tony. Just very quickly. First off, the panel's great. By the way, it sounds awesome. But we're going on 5 years now, gentlemen. This is the longest wrestling convention for Tony Khan ever. I mean, this guy. I mean, for real. How much more goodwill can we extend to this guy? Everybody's talking about he should give up the book. He should give up the book to somebody else. Who's he going to give the book to that's going to somehow rearrange all this terrible goodwill, all the terrible PR, all the terrible, just the Bryan Danielson? Give me a break.
You don't think he could do it? You don't think?
No.
All right. So the fantasy is get rid of the AEW branding. Once again, totally just playing it out. If we're playing out the end of Tony Khan's convention, then let me play it out with this fantasy. Get rid of the AEW branding permanently. Get rid of all of it.
Yes.
Rebuild ROH. ROH still has goodwill. ROH still has good memories for a lot of fans.
It does.
Try and do something with ROH because, in my opinion, ROH's name value has more value than AEW. And then you put guys like Samoa Joe. You put guys like Bryan Danielson.
Jay Lethal.
Cesaro. Right. You put these guys who are a mainstay or a backing of old school ROH and have them get a shot at it. And if Tony Khan still wants to have his fingers and everything, fine. Be the executive producer. Let these guys who ran in ROH understand what that's about. Gives people that niche wrestling that Tony loves so much, but now on a more grandiose scale. I think you have a better opportunity to try and rebrand the whole company right now than if you're going to run this AEW thing into the ground.
Yeah.
But that's just my thoughts.
You know what? Here's the thing. I did a little experiment. I've been trying to be more positive lately. I've been trying to not like make my entire brand like hating on AEW. And I never want this show to just be like the AEW like hate cast. I do always want to be fair. I always want to try to present a more balanced view. I watched Dynamite the other day, and I said to myself, I am only going to tweet positively. I'm only gonna say the things that I liked about Dynamite.
Yeah.
And there
Two
were
tweets later.
And when I started doing it, I was like, okay, let's see if there's and I started finding little things, like things that I really enjoyed, guys that I really enjoyed. Sure, I didn't say anything during the Bucks match, and I fast forwarded through Orange Cassidy, but there were a lot of things that I like, and I looked at it and I'm like, there's so much potential here. There really is. Like, people think that it's washed and that like there's no saving it, but I really do think that a lot of those guys on that show are talented. And you know, with the right direction and the right stories, they can really go somewhere.
Well,
and
as
Joe,
the legal counsel for this show, I can speak for all of you as your power of attorney. I think everyone here actually, our criticism of AEW is because we all believe that it could be so much more, including appealing to that niche audience, the Ring of Honor noise, which, by the way, I went to pretty much every Ring of Honor show in Baltimore for 10 years, but they could have been so much more. And they're just not.
That's why I said AEW stresses me out, because I'm constantly thinking like this could be so much better than it is. This could be so much more than it is, and it's just I can't get that part of my brain out.
And I want it to be better. I really do. I want them to find the niche. I want them to find their storytelling. I keep thinking maybe Tony just needs to like learn, like get kicked in the dirt a little bit, and then pick himself up and be like, okay, I made this mistake, and I won't make that mistake again. Like do like the Batman thing. But after 5 years, I don't think he's doing that.
No, Marvin, I want Philly cheesesteaks not to taste like old shoe leather, but, you know, a hope and a wish and a prayer can only get you so far. I don't think Tony's capable of running a wrestling promotion which actually garners fans. And I totally agree with AEW. I think that the idea of pulling Tony Khan out of this AEW experiment and maybe finding somebody who can do a better job, is probably the best hope.
Oh yeah, I think we all said that last week.
Yeah, and if you had capable wrestling minds back there running the show, and Tony just running around and hugging everybody and just being like happy to be there and chugging his soda water and all that stuff, fine, that would be great. If you had you had William Regal. William Regal could be running your locker room. Jim Ross could be running your creative. Jake Roberts could be sitting down with all of your wrestlers and explaining to them not what they have to do out there, but why they are doing it. That's what it's missing. What is your motivation?
You have Jerry Lynn, Dean Malenko. Oh, I don't know. Am I cutting somebody off?
Nope, you're good.
Am I gone?
No, you're there. We can hear you.
Okay. You had Jerry Lynn, Dean Malenko. Jerry Lynn, Dean Malenko. We'll just stick with those two. Two men who created the ability for 90% of that roster to be on TV, and they're back there as agents, and those guys aren't listening to their feedback. They're going, "What do you know? What do you mean? What do you know?" Jerry Lynn created the template for you.
They had Arn Anderson.
So, they had Arn. Let's say
Arn.
Jake Roberts is still there doing nothing.
So you got Arn Anderson. You've got Billy Gunn. You have all these guys. You have some of the absolute greatest minds at your effing disposal. And instead, you're going to walk out there and you're going to do some BS Cirque du Soleil nonsense and land on your neck 52 times. And wonder why nobody watched it or gave a crap. So the creepy Uncle Dave can over celebrate you because you did a Twisty 450 Fujimara blah 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 that no one gives two shits about. It's like and you can't even lock up right. So it's like, what are we doing? Like again, fine. Tony drops the book tomorrow. All right, well, what happens? Because the AEW that exists today does not look like that. When a booker comes in and goes, "We're not doing that BS. Get out of here, clown."
Well, let me ask you this, Paulo. Do you think it's more along the lines that the reason that AEW, let me actually ask all of you guys, do you think that the reason that AEW suffers so bad is not just because Tony won't relinquish the books or the booking, but the fact that his counsel is guys like the Young Bucks, is guys like Jericho, is guys like Hangman Page, is guys like Sammy Guevara? Like, is this maybe the real crux of the problem?
Yes.
Because the people that he confides in are not people that you would expect to run a company. Anyway.
That's what Cornette said in the very beginning. Jim Cornette said, he was like, I met with the guy, and the second I found out who he was in business with, I said, nope, not getting involved because that right there you've already lost before you even started. Kevin, what were you going to say?
Look, I'll put Jericho in a different pile, right? Okay. Because a lot of our frustration with Jericho is he knows better. But when Jericho does something well on TV, it works, right? Like I'll give Jericho's first 2 years there, aside from the mimosa nonsense and the musical number, he did do a lot to elevate people when he wanted to. Where we are kind of now is just the perils of having entirely too much say. But so who's Hangman Page? He's a guy who grifted on to the end of the Bullet Club run. He is the friend of the friend of the friend. You weren't there. You didn't do the work. You didn't get over. You just happened to be here at the right time, and no one believes in a cowboy who has butterflies on his pants. I don't care.
Cowboys in wrestling used to be Bill Watts.
Right.
That's sorry.
Stan Hansen. Now they're the Rainbow Cowboy.
Listen, without even having to go that far back, James effing Storm.
James Storm is
still around. We have a cowboy named James who looks like a man and is a rugged SOB and does the drunk gimmick better than Pink Rhinestone Cowboy over here pretending he's a badass who isn't even man enough to stick with what he named himself after because some cancel pigs made fun of him for walking around with a noose.
Hangman Page.
Christ almighty.
Hangman Page has a drinking problem. But when James Storms drinks, it's everyone else's problem.
Exactly. So yeah, Tony listens to the Bucks, but hey, guess what? You've never drawn a dime.
Yeah.
You've never drawn a dime. You You may think your stupid cowboy, your trampoline cowboy BS works because it worked at BW Gorilla and Mr. Belding was our commissioner and Bob Saget showed up. Ooh, okay, great.
No.
You're in a small area of California that isn't a seething stink hole, and celebrities need something to do to plot themselves on the weekend. Great. So you're on a big time stage now. And guess what? 8-year-olds are going, you look like a skinny, frail, anorexic goof.
Yes.
And I'm not buying it. And I am someone, I'm not a flag waver. During the Monday Night Wars, and when I got to college, I had 2 TVs in my dorm room. We would actually go find a third because my roommate was a hockey player. So if Boston was playing, we had 3 TVs going at the exact same time so nothing got missed. I watched all syndicated shows, Worldwide, Power Hour. I watched WOW.
Wow. Yes.
Way back when. So like I consume this crap. I love it. Watching AEW hurts my heart because it should be so much better. And you see these flashes of brilliance, and then it's like, okay, cool, this cool thing happened, and out comes the Dork Order. Out comes this moron in the lucha mask for no reason. Out comes the moron with his hands in his pocket. Mm-hmm. I'm like, why am I? Out comes the dentist to cut the same boring ass promo she's cut for the last 4 freaking years. Out comes another WWE talent to whine about not getting a brass wing. I'm tired of hearing about old WWE people whining about their rich people problems. I'm tired of having to pretend that Jon Moxley is an effing star. Bro, you look like a poor man's plumber. What are you doing?
Yep.
There we go. I mean, I can't even follow that up. This is why Apollo's on this show. John JID Super Chat says, I knew Tony was going to have full control till the end when stories came out of him in school as a kid writing down shows / his E-Fed. What is an E-Fed?
Oh, can I tell?
Go ahead, Des, go ahead.
Go ahead. An E-Fed was a wonderful thing from the late 90s and early 2000s where someone very nerdy would keep spreadsheets about wrestling that didn't happen, and then you'd go online and cut promos against each other and get points based on how well you played your character on the message board.
Yep.
Sometimes they would use sometimes booking programs.
They would use.
Yes.
No.
I'm sure you're talking about other people right now, right, Des?
Yes, I definitely was never. Well, I never ran.
Talking
one.
about me. I'm so sorry, guys.
I never ran one, but I was definitely part of one. And sometimes you would use a booking simulator and put the stats in, and that would actually do the matches for you.
Oh, you were one of those rich AEW fans. You had a simulator program.
I didn't personally. I wanted it so bad, but no, I just had to go on. I was a character. I did do Extreme Warfare and all those games though. Those were fun.
Adam Riley is great.
Yeah.
Shaggy Filth 73 says AEW never had a talent problem, just a booking problem. I think we can.
Well, they have a talent problem that they have way too much talent.
They do have way too much talent. And Desire Death says, how to save AEW, hire Scott D'Amore, who saved TNA.
Yeah.
I mean, Scott D'Amore is a great creative talent. I mean,
hiring him and giving him power and ironclad contract with, if you fire him, you're paying him, I don't know what it would hurt Tony, but you're finding him $15 million. You pay him $15 million no matter what you fire him for. There is no such thing as for cause in that contract.
Yeah, you're right. And so now we're also talking about
WrestleMania.
The problem with all the problem with all the, I don't even think we can go back to WrestleMania at this point. The problem with all the talent, Tony is finally taking. Now I don't know what happened. I don't know if maybe his father took a look at the books, or maybe they're not getting as much money as they thought they were from the media deal, or what happened. But he released 10, according to Sean Ross Sapp, they released 10 people. Okay, which is, now I want to take everybody back to it. Now, here's the thing. I commend Tony Khan for finally doing that. That roster is entirely too bloated. Now, here's a Tony Khan quote, though. Even if I get punched in the face with circumstances, it doesn't mean I'm going to take it out on the staff by cutting 100 staff or laying off 30 wrestlers, Khan said. I would do anything I can to protect the jobs and the livelihoods of the people that work here. He added that AEW is a family business, comparing it to the actions of a public company like WWE. Khan never mentioned WWE by name, but the very specific numbers he used in his example and the public company comparisons made it very clear what he was getting at. Well, now he's just done his first spring cleaning. Which is what people call the WWE when WWE wipes out. I'm looking at Mish's photo here. What the heck is that?
Oh, you don't remember the day that Brian Alvarez laid Dave Meltzer or Tuna Meltzer down to rest?
Oh no! So
right?
we're finally getting to the point where and this gave me hope when I saw that he cut, because let me tell you something. I looked at that list of the 10 names and I'm like, I don't know who a single person on this list is.
Sadly, I knew everyone.
It was a list.
Yeah,
of
me
who?
too.
Who?
Yeah. These
Yeah,
people
no,
are employed.
Now, do you guys think
you
it
know who
was
they
in
were?
response to the Punk stuff, or do you think he had it teed up for?
There's no way.
sometime?
There's no. Look, I know he's probably like fragile, but I can't imagine he's fragile enough where somebody went off on him on a show that he doesn't even like, and he responded by firing 10 people.
He loves Ariel. That's why he's so hard done by that, and that's why he begged Ariel to do that show in the first place, which is why they had their awkward interview, which is why Ariel. Yeah, so no, he loves it.
It's a very funny joke.
They're worst enemies. That's typical kid stuff. I mean, listen, this company was forged on the back of a bunch of lies, and there's been 1,000 little lies, and this is just another one of those 1,000 little lies, and the diehard fans will ignore it and say that it's not a lie somehow or another. That said, A, it's too little. B, I'm not going to criticize someone who I've been criticizing for not running the company like a business to take even a baby step towards running it like a business. So I don't want to be a hypocrite with that, but yeah, I mean, but it started with everyone's going to be an employee and everyone's going to get health insurance.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's been a million. Everything they've said has been at some point has been re-questioned, turned back on. So it's like 1,000 paper cuts, and maybe that's part of the reason of the attrition too. That maybe some of those people were diehard fans, but maybe someone like, oh, they're not health insured. Oh, they're not employees. Oh, he said he was going to release people. So you lose 1 or 2% of the people at a time. And when you're already only appealing to 800,000 people, every 10,000 people matters.
So in other words,
I have never heard so many lies in my entire life other than when I was saying them.
Sorry, that's my favorite. That's my favorite Roddy Piper quote of all time. But no, it's like when he said that years ago, I was like, that's the dumbest thing he could ever say, because I know eventually he's going to have to do a mass release. He can't just wait out everybody's contract. Eventually you're going to have to. And so you say you're not going to, and here's the thing. He did the right thing by letting these people go. But people take a look at the fact that he said that he would never do it. And then all of a sudden it's, well, how about that? There you go. I just wanted to play on my soundboard a little bit, but yeah.
To quote Piper, it's reality check time.
Uh-huh.
You said a lot of things you had no business saying. One, you didn't have the experience. You didn't know what it was like running this kind of a company. You don't understand the pitfalls of having an employee versus an independent contractor. You're clearly not the one running your football clubs. But you wanted to be the one running AEW. And reality versus your fantasy, reality always wins. You don't have the stone. You don't get to shape it to whatever your whims are. And reality is always going to kick you in your mouth. And now he's suffering the slings and arrows of that. And yes, I'm more willing to believe, because I sincerely doubt that this little narcissist thought that firing people on the day of an interview was going to be the best way to go about it. If anything, he probably would have begged them to start with the Tony Khan saved my life tweets, holding them at gunpoint.
You know what? Kevin, I also think that he probably fired them before that interview happened, because AEW never announced these. They never future endeavored them. Sean Ross Sapp was the one that broke the news. And here's the thing about Sapp. Say what you will about him, he's right more than he's wrong, I think. So I believe it. And one of the guys, like a couple of them, have been like confirming that these are real reports.
Slim J did.
This probably happened a day before, or
Well,
even
sure.
earlier in the day, and
Well,
it's just a
look
coincidence.
at the date. The interview was April 1st. March 31st, the end of a month is usually when a contract ends.
Yeah.
And on top of that, it's WrestleMania week. There's a big CM Punk interview, which I imagine Tony Khan thought that he was covered and didn't have to worry about.
Probably.
And
I
then
thought he was.
you
I
also-
thought he didn't have to worry. I thought it was
Yeah,
going to
and
be
then-
so softball.
You also had a big Raw. I think he thought he could get this under the radar and nobody would even notice.
Yeah, I agree with you.
He has gone away with it. His fans are not complaining about it. No one's
They're
pointing
not
it
saying
out.
anything about it. The
I saw people going after Sean Ross Sapp saying that he was making it up. That's how
he
delusional
knows his
they are.
AEW shit, especially.
Yeah.
No, that's
but
he
Tony
gets
Khan
all of it.
doesn't future endeavor people typically, though. You look at what Big Swole said before in Sunny Kiss, and there's others who are like, no, he just kind of ghosts you. I think Joey Janela said the same thing. He just kind of ghosts you.
Chavo Guerrero.
Then,
he was hiding under his desk from Chavo Guerrero.
Right. He just stops talking to you, and then you just do a few jobs on the way out. And he puts everyone in like a key match or two, quote unquote. Like it might be on Dark Elevation, but I'm a mark and I watched all that shit. So but he puts you in a spot. You typically do the job or maybe even go out on a win. But yeah, he kind of just ghosts people is what people have said. So it's not even a surprise to me that I kind of like that WWE at least tweets out or future endeavor. Then there's like hype and a media, the news cycle can talk about Mustafa Ali for a month, AEW. It's like, yeah, maybe they get to keep their name, but I don't know. There's no hype surrounding it. Everyone just kind of forgets.
Everybody always hops on the 90-day no-compete clause for WWE. And here's the thing about that I think nobody realizes it. The 90-day no-compete clause is actually better for the talent than just letting them go, because WWE continues to pay you for those 90 days. And during those 90 days, you can negotiate with another company like AEW. You can line up all your indie bookings. And then by the time day 91 hits, you're on the ground running and you're making money. You're never just thrown out there with nothing.
Look at Maximum Male Models. They were not over at all in WWE. They got released day one, started a podcast. And by the time the 90 days were over, they were stars and they could get bookings. That's,
Yeah.
And they got paid for those 90 days. That's the thing nobody understands. I don't think they realize that you still get paid your very good downside guarantee typically for those 90 days.
And real quick, Joe Numbers, co-host of Wrestling Soup, even says,
love that guy.
If you fire somebody publicly, people at least know they're available for bookings.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
By the way, Ryan Plays sent us $10 Canadian. I love Mox, and I joke about my mom being a massive Mox fan, but that bit about Mox from Apollo popped me. Amazing show, keep it the great work, everyone. Thank you guys so much.
Oh, thanks, bud.
Was there anything else that we needed to cover on this on the Punk situation? Or can I move on to something a little more lighthearted?
Real quick.
Like what's a Canadian dollar?
Did we hit the part about
Don't ask
them?
me.
Did we hit the part about them making him find his own surgeon?
Yes.
Okay.
We did hit
because
that.
I had to duck out for a second. Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So, Kev, I texted you an image of something that you and I know very well. I wanted to divert away from AEW because I want to talk about something that I've found so entertaining for years. Now, look, there's a lot of Hulk Hogan is a racist stories out there. But Hulk Hogan is an entrepreneur. He's a businessman. And in Florida, he created a restaurant on the beach. I mean, we call it Hogan on the Beach. I don't remember what the actual name of it was, but there was a dress code for this restaurant. And I want you guys to hear the dress code. And Kev, I want you to take us there, maybe in the stylings of the Hulkster, and just one by one list out the dress code here.
Oh, Jesus. All right, brothers. We're here. We're in Tampa. And we got to make sure that we don't have any problems with a lot of complainers. No naggers, brother. We got to be sure.
Whoa,
I said naggers. I said people who like to nag, brother. I can make that joke, brother, because I'm black, brother. You don't demonetize me. That's racist.
Like my ex-wife, brother.
That's right.
Always on my
That's
case
right.
about taking out the garbage.
All right, all customers, dress code will be strictly enforced. No exceptions. I'm too old. I can't read. This is way too small.
Do you want me to do it?
Shirts and shoes are required upon entering any indoor area of the restaurant or hotel. This was
all right,
attached to a hotel.
So far, so good, right? Like so far, like we're pretty normal on it.
So good, perfectly reasonable. I'm going to jump down a little bit. No white plain t-shirts or otherwise oversized t-shirts extending past the mid-thigh, brothers.
Okay, that's a little weird, Hulkster. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little weirded out by the fact that like a shirt that's like plain and white and maybe a little baggy and extends past the knees. We're not allowed to wear those into your restaurant then.
Does that apply to a woman who's wearing a t-shirt over a bikini?
Hold on. What? No, I mean, I don't think he's talking about anybody in bikini.
I don't think he is either, but it would, yeah. Okay.
All right, Hulkster.
You may have to revisit that, brother, especially if she looks like my daughter.
Me.
No attire containing profanity or otherwise deemed to be offensive by management.
Okay, I'm okay with this one. This is a pretty logical one. A lot of places have that. All right, Hulkster. I'm in so far. I'm just going to not wear a plain white t-shirt.
No sports or sleeveless jerseys.
That's a little particular.
That's prevent fights over teams. I mean, that's the excuse, but okay. Now we're veering
but
off
like a
the road.
sleeveless jersey. So, I mean, maybe you're thinking like a basketball jersey?
Okay,
like,
that's kind of narrowing it down there, Hulk.
I mean,
all right, let's keep going.
Hulk Hogan can't be served.
Hold on. Go ahead, Kev.
No excessively baggy attire, brothers.
No excessively baggy attire. All right, we're getting a little bit like when you're putting all of these like, clothing items together, we're starting to get more of a sense of what Hulk Hogan is.
Doesn't he wear Zubaz? Like
those are baggy, brothers. If you hang and bang and you got the thigh meat, brother.
Hang and bang. All right, keep going.
No low hanging pants or shorts. Pants or shorts must be worn at the waist, brothers.
So no sagging, no bagging, sagging Barry, like
no sagging, no nagging, no sagging.
So this clearly takes out the Wu-Tang Clan,
right?
Oh, I think the Wu-Tang Clan and most
they're not invited.
I think you're onto something there.
No hats, caps, or visors worn sideways or back facing.
What?
Must be worn.
Poor Slim J. He's not.
And that brim better be flat.
So you can't wear your hat to the side. So like if you walk in and you're wearing your hat and you're wearing it like front facing and you sit down at the table and you turn it to the side, he's kicking you right out. Like he's gonna hulk up on you right there.
What about like a girl after softball practice or something? She's not allowed in there? Like
nope.
Jesus.
Hulk Hogan can't eat at his own restaurant. Come on, he doesn't have nice food.
All right, let's keep going.
No do-rags, skull caps.
Oh, come on.
Okay, now we're narrowing it down.
Are you sure this is Hulk Hogan's restaurant?
This is Hulk Hogan. This is 100% real. We are not making this up. We are not making this up.
Okay.
All right.
No torn or soiled clothing.
Okay. That one's
he
all
tears
right.
his shirt all the time.
I know, like he can't like these rules don't apply to me, brother. This is my restaurant. It's my beach.
Irritable bowel syndrome.
No work boots, brothers.
No work boots. Very specifically work boots.
No Timberlands.
God, who does he want in there?
No, it's who he doesn't want in there.
Yeah,
That's exactly.
I know, right? Exactly.
John Cena can't eat here.
Yeah.
Burning cross is allowed.
No oversized or excessive jewelry.
Oh, well, that's
I don't need Flavor Flav coming in here with that clock, brother.
Oh, that clock scares me.
I don't like to know what time it is.
No workout clothing, including tracksuits, jumpsuits, sweatpants, gray basketball, gym, or other mess shorts.
You're on the beach.
On the beach.
Oh my God!
Does it talk?
Here's the thing. Look, listen, brothers. I don't want that clock in here because if I see the clock and I see that it's Vader time, I'm gonna know that he's coming out there and he's gonna stiff me again, brother. I wouldn't work with him in WCW. I ain't working with him in my restaurant, brother.
No way, no how. This isn't Pastamania. No camouflage unless with military ID.
They're IDing you if you walk in camo.
No Tribe Called Quest, brothers.
The No Limit soldiers aren't allowed, bro.
We are
That's
down
right.
with the Wu-Tang
That's
here,
right.
brothers. It doesn't work for me. Jesus.
No high top sneakers. This is a beach party, and beach attire is required.
The beach attire is required, but like cut off sleeves are not.
You can't wear shirts and shorts, brothers, but you can wear any other beach attire. Perhaps.
High top sneakers.
Like a
high
single-
top sneakers.
A single piece bathing suit? Is that what you're supposed to walk in looking like Andre the Giant?
Oh, you better be walking in there like Andre the Giant, brother.
Brothers,
Single
just don't dress
strap,
like
brother,
Andre the
or you
Giant.
can't come in.
Oh my god. Was that the last one or are there more?
That thank God that
That's
is
the
the
last-
last one.
Can I bring my own fluids under 4 ounces into the restaurant? Or
Oh hell no, brother.
If I see a bottle of Old E, I'm calling the cops.
You should just have the acceptable outfit, and you have to buy it on entry, and just put it on.
Oh my!
Oh,
he
sounds
makes
like a
people buy the
sundown-
merchandise to
sundown
wear?
restaurant.
Oh, that's
Right.
great.
He's just trying to keep Zeus out.
Yes, that's right.
Apparently,
He can't. Yeah, there ain't nothing racist about not wanting my neck broke, brother.
That's right.
I mean, I was
For all-
looking in the
for all I
mirror when
knew.
wrote these rules.
For all I knew, my daughter was about to marry Zeus. Then I'm up there, and they're like, "Who gives this girl away?" And I'm gonna be like, "I do, brother." And then boom, he breaks my neck.
Mhm.
So you have to turn that Z right side up, I guess.
Yes.
No Z gangsters either.
Jesus.
Oh, I just got that.
All right.
Oh, that's great.
By the way, Awful's black. Awful is black. He's allowed. He's one of the 2 people on this allowed to make that joke.
Now, I got a question. Is this restaurant still open?
I don't know. I don't know. Like
No Hennessy, brother. We don't.
Depends on if you fit the rules or not, I guess.
Yeah,
Black and mild. Keep
it's
on
open.
walking.
It's a karaoke bar now.
I mean,
Does Hogan's restaurant have 3 washrooms? Just curious, guys. I mean,
oh God! Oh, you went there. Okay. This was, by the way, this was long before he dropped. This was long before he had his dalance with Bubba the Love Sponge's wife. So we didn't like. So this kind of flew under the radar, but like, oh man, I believe after this like kind of went viral a little bit, people were like, "Hey, Hulkster, this is a little weird," and they like relaxed the restrictions. But yeah. I don't know if it's still open though. I know in Orlando he's got like a beach shop. Like he's got like a store and he does like signings and stuff there because
like a surf shop. The restaurant's gone.
And the guy who manages it is like ultra conspiratorial. Apparently, Jim Cornette has read like letters people have written him from. So I don't know if you're ever interested. Check that out. But
yeah, I have heard.
That was legendary right there, dude.
And for anyone that thinks that we're making this up, here it is. That's it. Everything that he just said is there. This is a beach party, brother. Beach attire is required. This is all dress code will be strictly enforced.
No do-rag, skull caps, or bandanas, unless it's me, brother.
Right.
For a guy who's got a tan like that, I mean, my goodness.
You would think his business partners would have corrected him before he even put that out there.
Who knows who his business partners even were? Like,
Carver.
The Nasty Boys, Jimmy Hart and Ed Leslie.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know, Daddy. This seems a little specific to me. You might have heard the demo. That's right.
Listen, baby. I just think this might be a little bit much.
Oh my God. I love Jimmy Hart. He's so tiny as a human being, though. He is amazingly small.
Isn't he like 80 now or something?
Yeah,
like that?
yeah.
I
He's up there and he's still going around doing signings and everything. And yeah, he's still active as hell.
That's amazing. Maybe all be as spry as Jimmy Hart in our later years.
For sure.
But okay, so now moving on from Hogan on the beach. Have you ever heard Triple H laugh?
Yeah.
You've heard? Okay, so I would like to walk us all down a little bit of this what we have discovered about Triple H laughing. Okay, this is a video that's going to play. I will be stopping it here and there. What is that sound that came out of him?
Oh, that is a guttural laugh.
That is not even
the soul that was laughing there.
Hold on, I'm gonna let the video continue.
Boys.
Noise that he makes.
Sounds like a wazoo.
You know what that sounds like? Okay, you know the lady that sounds like, "Hey, honey, go get me some Virginia Slims when you're at the gas station." Like that's what he sounds like. Laughing.
Oh my god! Like, and that's him being jovial. That's him. That's him being entertained.
But his hair was glorious.
A really good example of when Triple H was laughing out of character was when he was picking on Mike Johnson on one of those scrum calls that they did. And he was blasting Mike Johnson for being a nerd, and he was laughing his ass off. It was really funny.
Kev, you had a name. You had a name for the laugh. What was the name?
The Blurgonk.
It is the greatest thing. It's so fitting for that sound. Like if you were to name that sound, it is just called Blurgonk.
We used to get together and watch Raw. It'd be like 5 of us in our buddy's apartment, and so obviously we just sat through the horror of watching him simulate sex with a dead body, and we were like, "This was the worst thing we've ever seen." And then, what a sick freak. Wrong. And it just changes the mood of the real. Like, what demon just tried to escape from his body? Like, no, that's not a human noise. And then we start going through old tapes and like, oh my God, he has done this and has always done this. It's just little tiny. Bleh. It's like, what?
It's like he knows about as much about laughing like a normal human being as Tony Khan knows about hugging as a natural human being.
Right. It doesn't sound infectious. That's for damn sure. You know how
it sounds infected is what it sounds like.
Yes. Right.
Yes.
Sounds like it stops you right in your tracks. Like, hold on, what the hell was that?
I mean, if it's a demon, you could call it the Azalaphius or something. You know, but,
could you imagine just like being out on the town with him, and like you tell a joke and like everyone at the table's laughing, and all of a sudden that sound comes at you from across the table?
But we all have those crazy laughs, don't we? Haven't you guys ever laughed so hard that just weird noises come out?
Yes.
Like where you can't control it anymore, and you're just gasping for air.
Every
few times, even on the show, when I've done that with Joe, and Joe has popped me so hard, I start coughing and wheezing, and it's like it's just not a normal laugh. At that point, you're right. You sound like you're sick. You sound like you're actually dying, but you're having one of the greatest laugh guffaws of your life. You know?
And he was that entertained by Katie Vick.
I mean, dark humor, gallows humor, maybe.
Look, at the end,
if that's not fine comedy, then I don't know what is.
well, that's the thing. Like, you remember, like you heard the story about like they're filming the Katie Vick situation, right? And they're like in the funeral home filming it. Which I don't know why they didn't just create a funeral home in the studio or something. There's a real funeral.
We need authenticity. I need formaldehyde. I need weeping widows. Get in there.
I want people to be like, I've been to that funeral home.
Right. That's right. You hit it so hard, you
funeral home over.
Cremate that ass.
There's a literal wake going on. People are mourning the death of a loved one in the next room, and they can hear this maniac screaming at his son-in-law in an open casket with a mannequin wearing a cheerleading outfit. You gotta thrust.
Do it harder. You call that filing a corpse? Get it.
Feel
it. Come on.
What do you got, rigor mortis?
That's right.
What were they thinking? Seriously, when you think about it, what was the parlor thinking by having WWE do a bit in the next room while there was an actual service?
Cha-ching.
Yeah, they were thinking that this maniac just wrote us a big fat check.
Right.
Yeah.
This guy just wrote us a huge
paid for the
check.
funeral expenses.
Yeah, there's also a total possibility that they thought it was a funeral and they just walked in with video cameras. And
no,
the way they did things back
Films a
then.
funeral
Until they walked in with video cameras.
If this casket's a rockin', don't come a knockin'.
Thank you, John JID 999 says they ID you if you wear camo. I'm dead for the Hogan big shot. Like, could you imagine just like sitting there, like like sitting there in like the booking meeting where he's like, I've got the greatest idea.
All right. He's got a girlfriend, and she died horribly in an automobile accident. And Hunter, you're gonna dig her up and bang her and laugh.
You're gonna screw her brains out like that.
You're gonna take SpaghettiOs and oatmeal, throw it at the camera, and say, "I screwed her brains out."
What the frick?
I'm completely normal. Just don't check my text messages. I swear.
The horror of Victoria
Me and Katie Vick had something going on.
You should play dead, and I'll screw your brains out.
I also love that the Katie Vick outfit that the mannequin wore ended up being purchased by the guy that made the Wrestle Crap website. Which I'm like, I was like, you know what, Audie Reynolds, I think his name is. I was like, you know what, it went to where it was supposed to be.
I donated to the fund to buy that.
Oh, did you really? That's awesome. That is absolutely awesome.
JPS with the super. He said, "Sounds like Triple H has lymphoma, cancer of the laugh."
Jesus.
Oh my god! Yeah, that is one of the most ridiculous things I think that has ever occurred on WWE TV. Right? Like that was like that tail end of the Attitude Era, where like they had run out of things to do to top themselves, and they were like necrophilia, HLA.
Yeah, don't forget about Mae Young and the Hand.
Or Shawn Michaels versus God. Or I'm sorry, Vince versus God. Yeah.
Okay, actually, Mae Young in the Hand. Mae Young in the Hand was like in the prime of the Attitude.
One at a time, gentlemen. One at a time. Kevin, what would you say?
May God strike me down. Looking to the sky and always stepping off to the side.
Yep.
Just in case.
What about that church that let them come in to film that promo? When they went to the church and he takes like the holy water and he's like, hey Shane, who am I? He spits the holy water out.
They're just saying, what's wrong with you?
This is my father.
So we should have saw him coming a mile away. I mean, we should have all known that Vince McMahon was a freak to begin with, but now it's confirmed.
But I mean, I even agree when Ariel said that in the middle of that Punk interview. He's like, I don't think there's anybody believes that Vince was a saint. You know,
no, we all knew.
Right.
Everyone knew something.
We didn't know the extent.
We didn't know the extent of it. No, and if those allegations are proven true, it's horrifying. But James here says in the McMahon voice, "There is no chance in hell I'll come to Apollo's wake."
Oh,
Vince is gonna outlive
not even
all
to
of us.
Screw you.
That's the thing.
Don't worry, Apollo.
He
I'll come to your wake, Apollo. Don't worry.
He is going to outlive all of us.
Yep.
Yeah, he's like a cockroach, dude.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I know what I wanted to talk about next. So stepping away from wrestling for just a second, I wanted to talk real combat sports for a moment because a young man by the name of Jake Paul has just made the greatest mistake of his life. He is going to be stepping into the ring with a maniac named Mike Tyson, and we are getting a bona fide Mike Tyson fight for the first time since he bit off somebody's ear. And, he bit off Evander Holyfield's ear. But I am so excited for this. Now, some things have come out, like they're going to be 2-minute rounds, no judges, so no winning by decision. If there's no knockout, there's no winner. And 16-ounce gloves. So, but Mike Tyson hitting with a 16-ounce glove, even in his late 50s, I think is going to be something insane.
Yeah.
Phil, I wanted your opinion on this, Phil, because you're the combat sports guy.
Well, there's the old school argument that it's the old gym argument for boxers. The bigger glove, that means bigger circumference. The power is the last thing to go with age, is the power. So the shorter rounds, I think, favor Tyson. But once you start throwing in all these like stipulations, oh, no winner will be announced unless there's a knockout, I start questioning whether it's legit or not, especially because Jake talks all this mess about, oh, I want to be taken seriously and I want to be legit and whatnot. But I don't know. I think Tyson's going to try and flurry him. Either Tyson's just going to stiff this kid and knock him out completely dead, or I don't know. It could be the fix is in, but I just don't think, because Jake is willing to lose. He lost to Tommy Fury. So it's not like that was a worked fight, right? Otherwise he wouldn't have lost it. So
the question I think is has Mike Tyson gone full Hollywood, or is he still that maniac that we all knew?
So he wasn't that maniac, but then he switched. So I've watched his appearances on, like, let's say Joe Rogan podcast, for instance, and Joe talks about, oh, he intimidated me. Like, I actually made my table bigger in my studio because I was sitting too close to, I was nervous. And the thing is he talked about it, I have to turn that on. Like, it's a sickness almost, like it's like a dark thing I have to do. Like, I'm not ready to turn that on. Right. But him. Yes. Right. Exactly. But he quit his whole ass podcast. He stopped doing it. Super successful podcast just to focus, train for this fight. And Dana White talked to Mike Tyson's wife, and they're very close. And she said, no, he's taking this shit very seriously. So I don't know, man. I think we're going to get a real Tyson. And I think all those little rules are in there are to protect Jake more than Mike, in my opinion.
Now, Phil, were you the one that said to me that, like, Jake said that, like, he was pretty buddy with Tyson, and then like when he saw him last time after the fight was announced, it was like he was in the room with a different guy.
Right. So Jake Paul on his podcast was watching some Mike Tyson videos where Mike Tyson's going, day 3, you still want to fuck with me?
I've got that thing to play.
And so Jake seemed a little nervous. I don't think he's that good of an actor. And he was kind of like, oh shit. And his wife or his fiance was going, what if he knocks you out? Like, that'll be really bad, won't it? And he's like, oh no, it won't happen, kind of thing. But he said, like, Mike Tyson's always been super friendly with me, has always kind of put me over, sort of thing. He said, but when we went to go sign the contracts, it was completely different. Like, the way he was looking at me, he wouldn't talk to me, the energy. And I was like, yeah, you're marked in, you're done, So I don't know. I'm hoping for I'm going to put money on a Tyson knockout, like round 1 or 2. That's what I'm
You're actually going to put money down on this. Okay.
I will. Yeah. Fuck it. But if it's an exhibition, if they're not, are you allowed to? Because if they're not announcing a winner, I don't know if you can gamble on that. So I'd have to, but I will. Yeah,
everybody can find a bookie. Yeah. Let me ask you this. That just
speaks to the reputation of Mike Tyson.
Hold on, one at a time, guys. One at awful, and then Mish.
Sorry. Oh, I just wanted to say that it just speaks to Tyson's reputation. He's got a lot to lose if he, doesn't perform well at this fight. Jake Paul doesn't really have too much to lose. Everybody's expecting him to get knocked down, beat up. But as far as Mike Tyson, he cannot lose this bout. It would take something away from his reputation. It would take something away from his legacy. Right.
Mish, what were you going to say?
I just don't see that happening. Sorry, you guys go ahead.
Go ahead, Mish.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, how scary is it when Mike Tyson was talking to Rogan, when he was saying that the actual match excited him, but he meant it more, not in the sense of excitement as like pensive, but he was getting aroused from the idea of putting his hands on Jake. And to me, that's scarier than a guy that has great videos training with his coach, or has, an amazing record or a past. When somebody tells you that hurting you gets me erect, I'm probably a little more terrified of that guy than anybody else you could possibly go against. And Tyson, even at this age, and I do kind of agree with you, AEW, that the fact that Tyson losing this is going to be a little bit more detrimental to his memory. But at the same time, I think there's still excuses that people have waiting. Like, look at his age. He's been out of the ring for so long. You know what I mean? But man, I'm looking forward to it, guys. I really am. I don't know if it's a work or not. I've heard that being floated around too. But either way, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun to watch.
Kev, what were you going to say?
Well, so there's an animal instinct that doesn't go away when you are that kind of a warrior. You get tempered by age, but that's only because you can't go out there and do the things you used to do. It doesn't mean that hungry, starving lion isn't there. On the other side of it, Paul is he's an average boxer. He's a decent boxer, right? Like he's not great. He's most certainly better than decent. He's run out of guys to fight who are willing to fight him, without it being a big spectacle. Right. The Tyson fight, it's I say if Mike Tyson again is kind of ascended, right? He is a beloved cultural icon now. So at his age, if he and we see a lot of these safeguards have been put in to protect Paul, right? Like we can't have him go in there and then Mike Tyson obliterates him in the first 30 seconds. The kid's boxing career is over. It's over. You lost to an old man, versus if he hangs
a killer, though. He's not just an old man.
Well, that is the thing.
It's Mike Tyson. Yes, it's Mike Tyson. But at the same time, this isn't like the thing about when George Foreman came back. George Foreman, I think, how old was George Foreman when he made his comeback? He was younger than I am right now.
That's something.
He
think about that.
40. He was in his 40s. Yeah, he won the world title as well.
So Mike Tyson is what, 12 years older than that? So
57, right?
In the sports realm, you're really going. Listen, Mike Tyson's closer to 60 than he is to 50. Right. So that's damning for an athlete, like Paul. Like you just
in his prime.
No matter who it is, it could be Muhammad Ali. You still almost lost to an old man. Versus if Mike Tyson, something happens and some freak incident, Mike Tyson goes down, it doesn't really hurt him that much because someone's gonna go, well, the guy's closer to 60. He shouldn't have been there fighting anyway.
Yeah.
But when you see Mike Tyson training and you see the switch in his eyes.
We're gonna see it in a minute.
This one from being a happy little gag joke that he was chasing for a couple of years, and he finally wore him down and got him to do it. And I'm excited to see it because it's Mike effing Tyson, right?
Yes.
And again, Jake Paul he's not a bad fighter. He just kind of put himself in this weird little,
he booked himself in a corner.
Because it was all stunt stuff. And again, we know if he goes there and he starts fighting legitimate boxers, a really good boxer is probably going to eat his lunch. But he can go in there and throw down with an MMA guy who learned boxing. Because if you're a combat sports guy, you understand boxing and MMA are two totally different animals.
Yeah. Right. And the guys he fought were specifically grapplers. They were older in age, had been knocked out, beat before. One of them had a hip replacement, Ben Askren. So it's like, come on, dude. You beat a guy with a hip replacement.
Not to be nerdy and bring this back to wrestling a little bit, but Tyson, people don't realize how much of a draw he still is. This thing's going to make so much money.
So much money.
So
they're doing it in an arena.
Yeah. Last week, just because someone asked, I went and saw the last time, when the last time AEW had a lower rating than they had last week. And I had to go back years. But you know what the first show was that brought them over 1 million, and then they stayed there for a while? It wasn't Punk. It wasn't Danielson. It was Mike Tyson.
Tyson was what turned. Mike Tyson turned the tide of the Monday Night War. And he came out there with Stone Cold. That was it.
Yep. Or Cold Stone, as he called him.
That was the thing with Eric Bischoff. When somebody came up to him and they were like, he's got Mike Tyson, he was like, that's good.
Right.
So we're gonna take a little look right here at Mike Tyson training for this fight, because when I saw this, I was like, this boy does not know what he has done to himself now.
Right.
Like I truly feel. Hold on. So I'm gonna go share screen. And we are going to do Be Afraid Jake, Mike Tyson. Okay. All right, here we go. Share. All right. Can everybody see this?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Here we go. Look at this.
It's day one. The fun just begun.
Check, please.
Now, look, notice all we're seeing is short bursts, powerful bursts. This is what he's going to rely on to win this fight. I think that if you watch Jake Paul fight, he does get tagged. He has a solid chin. He does have legit one punch knockout power like Jake does as well. But I just don't think he can eat more than 4 fucking shots like that to the chin. So I'm banking on Tyson getting him against the ropes in one instance, getting him in the corner 1 or 2 times and just boom, boom, boom. But if Jake is just on his bike the whole time, jab, 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 uppercut, like jab, jab out of there, jab, jab, hook, and just running the whole time,
away.
Okay, he might pull it off, So that's.
So are you thinking this is a 1-round fight then?
I think Tyson, if he could just get
2 minutes,
Jake eats shots early, maybe not like that, maybe like 2 rounds. But I think if Tyson can just get him pinned in the corner enough times, he can wear him down and maybe even TKO him from like shots. I don't know if like we'll ever see. I don't know, dude. There's so much. That's why I love fighting, right? Because
if Tyson lands a nice liver shot. If Tyson lands a nice liver shot,
one of those body
it's
shots,
over.
Can Jake handle that? We don't know, dude. One of those liver shots could put him down too.
No one
I don't
can
think
handle
Jake
that.
can handle it. Yeah.
There you go.
This is gonna be his own personal crucible. I don't think he's ever been with anybody who has come close to generating the amount of power that Tyson can generate at that speed. It's going to be interesting. It's fascinating that it's happening. What's poor boxing, right? How many times can you say you're excited about seeing a boxing match?
Yeah,
and even yes, it is a big spectacle. But again, to Paul's credit, he is a bit of a draw. He is a bit of a draw when he fights. People buy.
Give him credit.
Dana White says that's
one at a
bullshit.
time. One at a time. Dis, what were you saying?
I was gonna say, and give him credit. How many guys would step in the ring with Mike Tyson ever?
Yeah, right.
Phil, what were you saying?
I was just going to say that Dana White and a lot of people, though, do say that the reason that Jake Paul's fought on Triller for free and the reason this is going on Netflix instead of traditional pay-per-views because Jake Paul actually is not a draw. The data would show he's not actually as big of a draw as he claims to be, and that whole experiment sort of fell through, and that's why his last fight was free against a guy you guys have never heard of, some guy who delivers Uber or whatever. Not hating on that, but it's what he does. And so I think his last couple of fights were for free, and then this one's on Netflix where he got approached by Netflix, and then they went after Tyson and like locked down this deal. And I think that's because of Jake Paul's documentary did so well or whatever for Netflix. So but apparently, according to Dana White and these guys, that's bullshit. Jake Paul's actually not a pay-per-view draw at all. And so
Phil, you said that like he's been trying to get this fight for a while, and Tyson was like, not giving it to him. Does that mean that do you think it means like Tyson was just kind of like, I don't think you want this? Like,
I don't know. I think. I don't know. I just think maybe the right numbers weren't brought to Tyson and he didn't know if he wanted to unleash the animal. And I actually don't know if that could be all hearsay too. I don't know if Jake came to him a bunch, but Logan Paul tried to be like, I turned down Mike Tyson or whatever. And Jake's like, how? Like we approached him with this fight. So I don't think he was even, so I don't know.
Well,
Tyson was fishing around for a fight. I'm not sure.
What are you saying?
Tyson had business in Tyson had business endeavors going on at the time. I mean, he came out with a new weed. He had the podcast going. He was a man about town for quite a few years, and he probably just wanted to enjoy the lifestyle of being a retired boxer. And but I was going to just ask: did anybody see the picture of Tyson back? I'd say in like 2007 versus what he looks like now. There is no change in his body physique. It's incredible the shape that this man is in.
Well, here we go. So I want to play this second part again of day 2 here. Just look at his not even just the speed of his hands. Look at his face. Like look at his eyes.
Yep. For you.
Look at that.
1, 2, 3, 4.
He knocks the guy's glove right off. No, he's not, and that's the thing. I think everyone thinks, and look at the medicine ball. I mean, God, he's just going to town. Like that looks like Mike Tyson in his 20s throwing.
Yeah, I ain't fucking with that, dude. I don't know. Jake's in for it, dude.
It's day 3. You still want to fuck with me? Like,
yeah, dude. Jake's in for it, man.
And what you see in here, I mean, Kev, you know, I know you're a personal trainer. You could speak to this. You see in lightweight, heavy repetition. He's going for endurance here, right?
Yeah, he's using very explosive movements that get to the kind of increased power here, but a lot of his training is also very high reps, very low stuff, but he's building up his endurance. He's essentially transforming himself into a tank. He's going for being able to absorb a lot of punishment because he knows he can dish out a lot of punishment. Again, it's just going to be really interesting. It's going to be a very different fight than what we've seen Jake Paul do. And I know Dana talks a lot of shit. Dana talks a lot of shit, but I said I'm one of those guys who leaves it on. Why can I? What's the sport? What's the combat sports channel on XM that I'm brain farting now? I listen to all those shows, man, and you've got legitimate people from the sport talking about how decent a fighter Paul is, and the amount of eyes in the product. So this is going to be.
It's just that
deal.
they're young, man. They're so young where it's like a lot of them don't even like they got to ask their parents to buy pay-per-views. That's what they're discovering. It's so Netflix is better for them because they have access to. They can just whip it on. That's why it's smart what he's doing. He did a pivot and it was very smart because
So again, I'm fascinated. Again, I follow Mike Tyson. Watching Mike Tyson's videos even before he started training here, the guy still trains like a demon. He trains like a demon. I've watched many times his training partner. You could tell that like Mike did something, and the guy definitely thought this was his final moment on this earth.
Oh yeah, there have been a couple of videos where it looks like he's about to knock the head right off of his trainer. Yeah. In fact, I think he does.
It's what, like the Mike Tyson that was like on the Comedy Central roast and stuff like that. We were seeing a much more like subdued version of Mike Tyson. And I remember on the one, I forget which roast it was. I don't remember if it was Trump or it was one of those ones that Seth MacFarlane hosted. And I remember Patrice O'Neal was on it, and he got up and he said to Mike, he goes, "It kills me how comfortable white people are around you."
Yeah.
And and I thought of that
Patrice
when I watched that video. I thought of that, and I'm like, oh, they're not comfortable anymore. Like, this is gonna, this is the Mike Tyson of old. This is the Mike Tyson that will bite your ear off. I was watching a bunch of like old Tyson clips on YouTube earlier today because I've just gotten so into like the idea of this fight. And I watched a clip of Mike Tyson trying to play Mike Tyson's Punch Out, and that was really funny. But the it feels to me almost like Rocky Balboa. The actual good last Rocky movie when Rocky comes out of retirement and fights Mason the Line Dixon. That's what this feels like to me, and I think that's what we're going to see is this old man who can still throw those hands, and I think that's hurting bombs. Exactly.
Puncher's always got a chance. So.
All right, should we move back into wrestling since that is kind of our bread and butter here? Before we close out, I wanted to just touch who here has seen the Bray Wyatt documentary.
Oh my gosh.
All right,
I will tonight, but
Dose has seen it. Phil, you haven't seen it yet. I've seen it. Dis has seen it. Mish and Awful, have you guys seen it?
I have not.
Okay. And Kev, I know you haven't seen it. I would assume you haven't seen it. You always see things like 3 weeks later. So
I got kids, dude.
I know.
Can't do anything.
This was such an amazing documentary. I mean, it was from the first moment, it was just captivating.
Yep.
And it really painted a picture of a man whose creativity just exceeded like what wrestling was. And I know we talked a bit about Bray last week, but I mean this documentary, I mean, they interviewed everyone. They had such amazing backstage. I mean, they must film everything now because like we saw them. We saw all the him doing promo classes. We saw, like old clips of Dusty talking about him. We saw like the way the Bray Wyatt character came to life. just so much behind the scenes. I think more so than, and I like the way they do it now with like the Undertaker was the narrator, and he was a great narrator. He was the best one since Stephen Amell did the Cody one, which I thought was also excellent. But
better than Jericho and Dark Side of the Ring.
Yes, much better than Jericho and Dark Side of the Ring. I was like, who's going to narrate Jericho's episode of Dark Side of the Ring?
I'll do it myself. Trust me, it'll be great.
The last like 20 to 30 minutes, I do not cry very easily. Okay. Like I don't really cry a lot at movies. I don't cry. Like I was bawling my eyes out. It's so sad. And just because they go right from like Brody Lee's death, because they cover Brody Lee's death in great detail. And they go right from that right into Bray's death. And I mean, you're listening to his mother, his fiance, his ex-wife, his brother. I mean, it is heart-wrenching. And the one thing I thought was interesting, they don't really speak to Mike Rotunda very much.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Did you notice that too? Like, do you think maybe because whenever Mike Rotunda's on screen, he looks like he's about to cry?
Yeah, I don't think he could hold it together.
I don't think he could either. I think his wife definitely is all over it, but I don't. Yeah, Mike Rotunda was not able to do it.
That's why I believe the thing about Bray not going into the Hall of Fame this year. Yeah. I just don't. He seems like he couldn't handle it. He doesn't. You know. He was so heartbroken. And his sister was just like, you could tell that she always just looked up. Like, think about how if anybody has a bigger brother, think about how you look at them and add on everything that we know about Bray. And it was a heartbreaking. Like I said, my son, who it's not like I sat him down and said, watch this now, you're going to learn.
Yeah.
He just naturally started watching it. And by the end he was crying.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know who Bray Wyatt is from anybody, you know. It was a beautifully done documentary, and you can tell how much he affected these people's lives in 100%. One way or another.
100%. I mean, they interview so many writers in this. They interview producers. I mean, and Bo Dallas is front and center for the entire thing, and I was glad to see that because he's a talented guy, and I think he never really got a fair shake. I think he was always, very much overshadowed, and you really see like, because they were never really paired together on WWE TV, and you really got to see through this how their stories kind of mirrored each other and how they supported each other and pushed each other. And I feel stupid not knowing this, but they didn't even I didn't know that Bo Dallas was Uncle Howdy.
Oh.
Now, and I didn't know. And so that was Bo Dallas. And the apparently Uncle Howdy, he says, was a thing that they used to. It was like a boogeyman that they invented when they were kids.
Yeah,
like
they had a nightmare of them.
Yeah, it was a nightmare that Bray had, and they would make stories about this Uncle Howdy monster that would like come out of the dock, and then he got to play that. But now the way that this thing ends, and I'm sorry if I'm spoiling it for anybody. I'll give you guys 10 seconds to duck out if I'm spoiling it for you. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay, so it ends with the dock the lantern with the light off, and then it flickers and it flickers and it comes back on, and you see the outline of Uncle Howdy standing behind it. It looks like to me we're moving ahead.
But he also says you hear run.
Yeah. I just got chills.
It's the exact promo they did when Bray was coming in first time, and then when The Fiend came in, and then when Bray came in again the second time.
Yeah.
They did this shot with all of them, and now they did it with Uncle Howdy.
Well, everyone heard what I said earlier about Rowan and Dexter Loomis, but I mean, listen, I agree with everything both of you guys said, and instead of rehashing it, I mean, I'm also very difficult to make cry, and I've had some really hard times, but I wept. I mean, they were blood octopus tears. I mean, it was of course. But this was so well done that I found Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman likable.
Wow.
Yeah.
Braun and Alexa Bliss, by the way, are two other people I could see involved with the whole Howdy thing.
Yes, I believe.
Alexa Bliss.
Whenever Braun, what'd you say about Alexa?
I love her. I think
I do too.
She totally redeemed herself for me in this documentary.
And I like Spooky Alexa. I've always liked Spooky Alexa. I think she found her calling for that.
I couldn't stand the doll. I couldn't stand that doll.
They went a little far with the doll when the doll was cutting promos, but yeah.
You didn't go far enough with your thinking.
What I wanted to, and look, I would have gone so much further with it. Like when Alexa like turned on the Fiend and like I was like, Alexa should like have a Fiend mask and like be like the Fiend should have jumped from Bray to Alexa. And then she was like the Fiend in the women's division. I thought
that's what I thought was going to happen, but they all said that didn't work out right. And
she's too small to really be taken seriously as the Fiend, I guess. But yeah,
well, not if she's inhabited with venom. I mean, that's
that's true.
a little thing, Marv. A little thing.
See Julia.
How much do you want to see the pilot for that TV show that Bray and Bo were making together about Hulk and the supernatural?
I don't think I can take it.
That would be, but I just want to watch the show. I just want it to be a show. I wish it would have become. I almost wish he would have stuck with that and made a show because that was the secret project. Remember they kept talking about the secret project that Bray was working on when he wasn't. That's what it was, and that would have been amazing.
It would have been cool.
As the gardener of doom, I can tell you that all of those shows are wildly disappointing.
So, and clearly, the way the Uncle Howdy thing was heading was it was going to be Uncle Howdy versus the Fiend.
Yeah,
and because they showed you Bray's final work, okay, like it was like the next version of what the Fiend was going to be, and it was the mask, and it had like the front of the face was like pulled back, and it was like you could just see like the tissue in the teeth and all that stuff, and he had his wedding anniversary or dating anniversary, whatever it was, stitched in where like the stitching was on the side of the thing, and his kids' names were in the stitches on the like over and over again on the pants on the tights, and it was just like he poured so much of himself into this final version of the Fiend, and it was just like there on a mannequin.
Did they talk about how the versions of Bray Wyatt kind of got derailed by Vince with like the
they didn't talk about not with Vince. They kind of talked with Uncle Howdy, I think, about how it was kind of like things were a little disjointed. Like they didn't really know what they were doing from moment to moment.
Triple H brought up specifically about how it was hard to work with Bray sometimes because he never thought it was good enough.
Right. Yeah, he was a troubled artist. But let me address the thing about, because this was advertised on Peacock Prime. This wasn't on Peacock WWE Network. So this wasn't just for insider wrestling fans. So I saw people complain, how do you not talk about the Hell in the Cell match? Because it's not a documentary about booking. It's not a documentary about that Vince McMahon pushed it. Especially now, they don't want to talk about it. This is meant for wide consumption to introduce people to the Bray Wyatt character, which is even more goes to my double denial that I think he's going into the Hall of Fame. I know everyone thinks I'm stupid with that, and you're probably right. But so this was beautiful. I mean, this was a beautiful documentary.
For the record, a disqualification ending to a Hell in a Cell match is bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
It's complete bullshit. The Inferno match was bullshit. The Alexa Bliss, taking his strength away was bullshit.
Yeah, that was silly.
I got the feeling from watching the documentary and it all coming together that Wyndham Rotunda, Bray Wyatt, whatever you want to call him, it seems like his vision wasn't to tell little stories that had feuds. It looked like he was trying to tell the story of a character from beginning to end, and we never got the end. But go ahead.
Sorry. I was going to say, did they talk about Undertaker's response? Like he was on his Patreon a few weeks back, and I don't know if there was like a highlight in the actual show. I haven't seen it yet. I was actually planning on watching this before I do a show with Kevin Castle tomorrow because I wanted it to be fresh. But now that you guys are talking about it, I can ask you various questions. Undertaker said that he wanted his streak, if he had to, he wanted his streak ended by somebody like Bray Wyatt.
It should have been Bray.
It made more sense.
He didn't say that. It was. I think that was again violates the two insider part of this, but
also they didn't interview Taker for it.
The Undertaker.
Oh, they didn't have Taker on there at all.
Well, he narrated it, but he wasn't a talking head.
I got
so
it.
Like
he does say as they're talking about it, he was like, that when he wrestled him at WrestleMania, he got something back from it. Like it was a match that brought him kind of back to where he needed to be, and he was like suffering from his own lack of confidence. But like when I was watching like WrestleMania to WrestleMania was kind of like what they were covering. Bray had an awful WrestleMania record. Like until the Firefly Funhouse match, he did not win a single match, and he always had a big match. his first WrestleMania was John Cena, and Cena, rolled.
But he's the villain. It's the summer blockbuster. The villain, the monster's supposed to lose, but the monster always resurrects. I mean, that's the thing. Bray Wyatt, he wanted the monster to keep on evolving and being and to still be scary and fresh, but he never wanted the monster to win. The monster can't win.
He didn't care. He didn't care about winning.
The monster's not supposed to win.
Right? No, I think he cared deeply about it. I think he cared deeply that
No, I'm saying
after struggles, the hero had to finish their story.
Yeah, I'm saying he didn't care that he won. He was playing a character. He wasn't, he wasn't out there to try to win. I mean, he said the championship meant a lot, but also it said a couple weeks later it didn't really matter to him anymore. Right. Like he was more invested in the story and the character than he was winning matches. So.
It was Bruce Pritchard says something in this that I thought was a little interesting. He was like, the Firefly Funhouse existed in Bray's like mind. This was his mind, and he was letting us into it. And I'm like, okay, Bruce, I can follow you on that if like Seth Rollins didn't like show up there and like burn it down. Like,
here's the thing about Bruce is that I've never really been that invested with Bruce, and I've never been the Bruce hater or the Bruce admirer. But after hearing him speak and just speak so factually wrong about a show he produces right there, that I can see what everyone says that Bruce is just a part of being the lucky friend club. And I maybe he's competent, but I don't think he's particularly bright.
I could see that. Kev, what was your favorite? What was your opinion on The Fiend? I don't think we ever really talked about it.
Yeah. Well, that debut, right? It was against Balor, right? What a tremendous visual, and what a tremendous introduction. It kind of makes you like, well, what would they have done if like COVID didn't happen and kind of derailed things, right? Because it took them a while to figure out how to properly showcase the characters. But like, the match against Cena at Mania, that was awesome. Like that match,
the Mania match or the Firefly Funhouse match,
the Firehouse Funhouse Fire.
Yes.
Yeah. That match is amazing, right? Your reality jumping. You're seeing weird, heel Cena. All this like little, just all this weird crap's happening, right? It's the Hell in a Cell. I say the Hell in a Cell is one of those times where the WWE kind of broke its own rule, right? You never insult the fans' intelligence.
Yeah.
We all know how Hell in a Cell works. So the fact that there was a DQ where we've seen way worse things happen, right? We watched The Undertaker essentially murder mankind. And then we did it again, a little more subdued when he threw Rikishi off of the side.
We saw Brock Lesnar savage his broken arm, the Undertaker's broken arm with a chair.
Yeah. That's it. That Lesnar, the Lesnar biker taker, Hell in a Cell, extremely brutal. So we know there are levels of brutality that are allowed in that cage. So for them to go in the direction they took it in, it hurt. It hurt not so much the credibility of the character, but like just your willingness to kind of like it deflated your faith in their ability to tell the story. Yeah. Bray as a character, the Fiend as a character was fine, but once you remove my ability to go, they're going to do something awesome with this. I don't want to get invested because I don't want to be disappointed. And then it just took so long for him to come back. It's like for as many amazing moments as he gave us, it really is just I guess it's almost apropos. It's like, what if Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin never left this earth, right? Like, what would they have done? But it's like he did all this great stuff in really such a short amount of time. But you're just kind of going, man, what was to come? What was to come? And I don't know if that's a hell of a way to go. But like, wow, I haven't watched the documentary yet just because I don't want to be sad this weekend.
And that's the thing. If you're not emotionally ready for it, it's rough. Like, I don't want to meet the person that can watch that and not get upset.
Yeah.
And if you are the person, the documentary is probably not for you anyway.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah. Like, I'm a crier now. I watched Dragon Ball, watched Goku meet his grandfather, and started crying.
Oh, who doesn't cry at that? I don't cry easily, and I cried at that.
R.I.P. Akira Toriyama.
Don't get us started on Dragon Ball. We'll be here for hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't worry, Dose. You're safe. So now where do you go with Uncle Howdy from here? If they are going to bring Bo in as Uncle Howdy and the story continues, how do you do this without Bray?
You do the Wyatt Six thing that everyone was saying was going to happen. You have Bo Dallas / Uncle Howdy lead it, and yeah, I think you use the characters like I think I heard you guys mentioning before I popped in Dexter Loomis and things like that. You build that faction. I think that's what you do because you already sort of invested in the Uncle Howdy thing, and and Bo is honestly brilliant. Like, not to bring it back to that, but when he was in NXT, it was his work with Neville that like got me into NXT. That stuff was brilliant. So
he's crazy talented. And now what I would do with it, I would do what you're saying, build that Wyatt Six. Like, you give him like the Rowans and the Dexter Loomises and the Alexas and involve Braun Strowman in some way, whether it's as with them or against them. I would not have Uncle Howdy touch the ring for at least 6 months.
Right.
If not a full year. I mean, you just need
him larger than life.
Just this devastation happening, and then you hear that amazing music that they made for him. Uncle Howdy's music is great, and you get the silhouette of him standing at the top with all the smoke when Bo would grab onto like the lapels of his jacket, and you just see the outline with the top hat and everything. You need to build to Uncle Howdy actually getting in the ring and getting physical.
Yeah,
and that's
Sauron or Thanos. You don't see him until the 18th movie.
Yep.
Or whatever.
Yep. 100%. He is Sauron. And that's what I think you have to do. And I think that Triple H has proven that he has the patience for a story like this.
Yeah. And
if you did this storyline 3 years ago with Vince at the helm.
Oh, no way.
It'd be way better. Come on, guys. I wasn't that bad, was I?
Well, even with even now, the reports came out about if Bo Dallas is coming in, and every report is that there is a standing invitation. He can come in whenever he is ready to do so, but he is not being rushed. And that's what Triple H does.
I will say, I will miss the Bo Leave character. I was all on. For the Bo Leave, the bad boy Bo Rotundo character was great.
What was the group he had with Heath Slater and like all of them?
Yeah.
What was it?
Team.
Oh yeah, that stuff was so. I was at that WrestleMania.
Or like the Social Outcast. I think they changed their name once or twice, but they were
social. Yeah, that was honestly one of the highlights of that WrestleMania that year. Was just the crazy pop they got, and Bo. Yeah, just seeing how happy he was because he was getting something finally.
Oh, totally. I mean, Bo was one of the first major call-ups from NXT, and they just kind of did nothing with him, unfortunately. Yeah. I think we've been going like 3.5 hours now. I think we're starting to wind down. One another super chat. Jose Lopez says Doc made me cry like when Eddie passed. Yeah, it definitely had that like Eddie Guerrero kind of like.
Shoot.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean that is
Eddie destroyed me, dude. Eddie fucking and Bray did too. Like honestly, but I don't know as hard as Eddie. Like Eddie was like my number one.
Look, and I don't. Here's the thing: I don't want to hear anybody complain when Bo comes back as Uncle Howdy, being like, "Oh, this is disrespectful to Bray." I don't think it's that at all. I think if Rey Mysterio was allowed to get that god awful push that he got after Eddie Guerrero died, then Bo Dallas can honor his brother in this way. I hated that Rey Mysterio.
You know what that's like? That's like people complaining about the pictures of Jade, Naomi, and Bianca. They're just looking for something to complain about.
Yeah. You remember like Eddie with Randy Orton going, Eddie's not in heaven, Ray. He's down there.
Listen,
in hell.
Basketballs don't hold grudges.
I mean, like CM Punk told us today, if you can use it to sell tickets and make money and you are a worker, you do it. And that is this is Bray Wyatt is from 2 wrestling families, not just one.
Yeah.
So to call it disrespect, actually to
Well, and
not
the thing is,
try and do it.
And
is
it's his
disrespectful.
family doing it.
And Uncle, well, that's the thing. Like, I don't think anybody would have minded the Eddie thing if it was Chavo doing it, but
It was
unfortunately,
Chavo doing it.
Well,
it was supposed to be Chavo doing it, and then like all of a sudden it wasn't Chavo anymore.
Because no one cared when Chavo did.
Well, remember when Eddie died,
Mickey
Chavo was.
That bleach blonde hair was Kerwin White. This wasn't going to happen.
That's what I was saying. That's what I was just about to say. Like when Eddie died, Chavo was Kerwin White.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's white.
He got about
That
2
is
weeks,
white.
and then people realized it was Chavo and didn't care anymore.
Yeah, they didn't know it was Chavo until after Eddie passed. They thought Kerwin White was a whole different guy.
Right? Who's this white guy that just popped up? It's very dry white man.
I love his
like him.
khakis.
I don't know
It
what
was
it is,
great.
but I like him for some reason.
By the way, I see.
Funny.
I see in the chat you guys were talking about Rocky movies and like ranking them. Real quick before we leave, I will give you my ranking because I can do it very easily. 1, 2, Balboa, 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
No,
I do not.
argue.
I do not rank 4 very high. I don't. I don't.
And you don't count Creed or what? You don't. Count
I'm not.
Creed?
I'm not counting Creed in that because I haven't seen Creed 3 yet.
Well, Rocky's. Never mind. You.
Well, I know. Oh, that's true. He's not in it.
Yeah, he's not in it. So
But it's still like
I
the
don't
same
know.
universe. I think Rocky 1 is a perfect movie. It is my favorite movie in the world. Like
Wonderful.
I will put that movie up against anything. And
People
just,
fight me. People fight me on my ranking of Rocky 2. That's where.
Okay, where do you rank Rocky 2?
I think Rocky 2 is it feels like okay, anyway, if you just want my ranking, I it's the 4th best.
4th best. Okay, what's the 2nd?
Rocky Balboa.
Okay, now number 1 is number 1, right?
Number
Or
1 is
you-
number 1.
Number
Yeah.
one is number 4. Come on, Dolph Lundgren, baby.
God, he's not.
The
That
best
movie is.
villain of all time. If he dies,
If he dies, he dies.
Come on.
Look, at the end of the day, he's not getting out of this country alive after doing that. I'm sorry. Like, come on.
Some
That was
Russian comes and kills a beloved sports figure.
no.
Come on,
You're not
training
getting-
with the robot. With the
with the robot. Oh,
Paulie's sex robot.
Yeah.
Boy.
I loved 4. 4 was so hokey and so over the top that it's ultimately my favorite. I agree with you guys when you say 1 and 2, or 1 was definitely the better story and Balboa was the better story. But as far as standout, I don't know. I go 4 every time. If I'm looking to have a good time, I'm watching Rocky 4.
I do highly recommend Stallone's newest cut of Rocky 4, the Rocky versus Drago.
Uh-huh.
He takes out like a lot, like Happy Birthday, Paulie's gone.
Okay.
So they add a lot more of the substance to the story. It's like different cuts. He remixes the sound. It's awesome. It's a better
Where does
movie.
this exist?
Where can I watch this?
Oh, this came out a couple years ago. It's just called Rocky versus Drago.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
gonna Google.
Oh,
this
it sounds
the
like
second
we're having
off
a
of here.
stream along,
Yeah,
guys.
it's the Stallone cut of Rocky 4.
Man, I
Awesome.
thought I was going to go to bed
Patreon
after this. Now
exclusive.
I'm going to be watching a new Rocky movie.
It is awesome. I do highly recommend it.
I mean, there were so many things in that movie that were like just kind of there to like pad the movie out. Look, I love No Easy Way Out. When I was a kid, I think I like I sat there and I like held up the like recorder to like the TV so that I could get like a copy of No Easy Way Out that I could play on my Walkman. But the movie is. I think the story of Rocky 1 is beautiful. I love the fact that he goes the distance. I like that Rocky 2 closes that story. Balboa is a great story of coming back from everything. 3, I love the story in 3 of him having to relearn how to fight and how to fight like Apollo Creed. I love that story when the enemy becomes the friend, and not only the friend, the mentor. Like, I loved that. And 5 was just garbage. I mean,
And then,
you know.
well, okay, Over the Top, I think, is the 5th.
Touch me and I'll sue.
not Don King. Ron Bling.
Yes.
Yeah. I think Over the Top was the 5th best Rocky movie, and everyone always leaves that out for some reason. I don't get it.
Over the Top.
I watch Over the Top quarterly.
Wait,
I don't know. My
What
favorite
is-
Rocky
what-
movie was Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. I don't know.
Okay, Marvin. Okay,
What
we're
is
gonna have
Over
to
the
talk
Top?
about this. It's
What is this?
it's about arm wrestling, and there is a fantastic Norm Macdonald bit that goes along with it.
Okay.
We need to get together here sometime.
Okay. All right. We will do so.
Yes.
We will
R.I.P.
do so.
Norm.
All right. Anybody else have anything they wanted to bring up tonight, or are we good to go here?
We're good.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you to my wonderful panel. This was such an amazing discussion. I could have gone with you guys for another 3 hours on all this stuff. So much to cover. We didn't even get to half of the things that I had down to talk about. But yeah, thank you so much to everybody who's tuned in. I mean, we never dipped below. I think we're at 109 viewers right now, and that's the lowest we've been for the entire time. We beat Eric Bischoff. That's right. We did it. Thank you to everybody who participated in the chat. Thank you to everybody who was doing the super chats. Stay tuned. We got so much. Patreon.com/TooneyTown Wrestling. I just posted up. We did a couple of. I took the song parodies and I recorded the audio version, but I had a friend record it who can actually sing. So it's not, it's not my voice coming at you guys. It's so we did No Milliversary and the Jericho one, Only in My Mind. I also did my own little like reaction video to the Punk stuff and releasing the wrestlers. And so that's like, there's gonna be a lot more stuff coming to Patreon. Patreon.com/TooneyTown Wrestling. New song parody dropping there in the next couple days, and then 3 days later it will be on YouTube, and then Face Lock feature coming soon also, and then that will be on YouTube 2 days later. All will be released before WrestleMania. All right. Hope everybody has a great WrestleMania. Thank you to my panel. Apollo, Awful, Dose, Dis, Phil, Neckbeard, thank you so much, moderating the chat and producing. And Mish, thank you so much for being our special guest this week. You are welcome back anytime, my friend. This was wonderful discussion. Thank you guys so much, and we will see you next time. For my esteemed panel, I'm Marvin the Movie Monster. Now get out of here!